Good evening and welcome to our April Committee of the Whole meeting. We're so glad we have a very big crowd in the room tonight. We're glad to see all of you. The Board of Trustees of the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District is now convened in a Committee of the Whole meeting on Thursday, April 6, 2017 in the boardroom of the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Instructional Support Center, 10300 Jones Road, Houston, Texas at 6 p.m. for the purpose of reviewing that portion of the Monday, April 10, 2017 school board agenda designated as action items and to hear designated reports and recognitions posted in the meeting notice as required by Texas law. No action will be taken at this meeting. I want to welcome the members of our audience and our television viewers to this meeting of the Board of Trustees. As the Cypress-Fairbanks Board of Trustees, we're here to set goals, listen to reports, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. It's not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to items on tonight's agenda. Agenda items will not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. The meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. During the course of this meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted for this meeting as permitted by sections 551.071 to 551.084 inclusive of the Texas Government Code. These proceedings are airing live on CFTV Channel 16 and CFTV Online on the district website. They will also be rebroadcast throughout the month on Channel 16 and available as video on demand on the website. For the tape to adequately reflect the proceedings, I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking and that cell phones are turned off or in a silent mode. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and for your interest in the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District. I do not see any members of the CALC with us. Did I miss anyone? If I did, please stand up. Well, we'll recognize those members that attend on Monday. Are there any scouts here? I didn't see any of those either. All right, we'll probably have some scouts on Monday. All right, well, let's move on to our board. The following items may be considered at both, and I think we're going to have both our reports tonight. 4A, the administration will provide an oral report on school support services, and I believe that Roy Sprague and Matt Morgan are presenting that report.
President Mongoya, members of the board, Dr. Henry, it is my honor this evening to present to you our support services team, which consists of 6 departments which serves our district. I'm extremely proud of this team of dedicated professionals who truly do an outstanding and amazing job managing our day-to-day operations to provide support to our students and staff in the most cost-effective way possible. I would now like to introduce the leader of these teams, Mr. Matt Morgan, Assistant Superintendent of Support Services, who will begin with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sprague. President Mongoya, Dr. Henry, members of the board, thank you for allowing us to present tonight. As Roy mentioned, are we ready? Good. We have 6 departments in support services: distribution and mail, the food service department, operations, the print center, purchasing, and transportation. And I couldn't be more proud of this group of employees. They do a great job. We have 3,400 team members total. They work together very well. They're very dedicated. Our bus drivers are incredible. Our food service workers, our custodians, our purchasing staff, our distribution and mail centers do a fantastic job. But I'm really proud of the leadership teams in these departments. We have some very dedicated leaders, very professional. They're all experts in their field. And I've asked each one of them to come tonight and do a short presentation on their department. And I think we'll get started with Mr. Darren Crawford in food service.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, board members, Dr. Henry. Thank y'all for having us here. Just want to tell you a little bit about our department. The title slide there kind of speaks for itself. I mean, at the end of the day, the basic function that we serve is to feed our students, to try to do that in a cost-effective, efficient manner, and get them all fed on time and back to class. So that's an example of one of our lunches that you could find that actually at an elementary or a middle school. Some of the things that we really try to focus on is having that variety in fruits and vegetables so that there's plenty of different color on the plate and a variety of different nutrients on those plates. Just kind of some fast facts about our department. We have in total about 1,250 employees. Of those employees, there are about 175 that work at our central production facility over on Perry Road. There we have a central kitchen. We also have some warehouse space there. So that includes those folks who work at the central kitchen. Folks who work at the warehouse, also our admin staff. We're all located there. The balance of those employees are at our 86, soon to be growing to 89 cafeterias that we have. So we have the one production center, which actually any of you who have been there, you can probably get a sense of the scope of what goes on there. Folks who haven't been there, I would encourage you to come see it because it's an amazing thing. I won't take credit for it. It was there long before I was there, but it's a very efficient way to produce those meals. Speaking of meal production, we do about 116,000 a day. That includes about 30,000 breakfast and breakfast equivalents and around 86,000 lunches each day. So to serve that, we have 3 warehouses currently, 2 of which are at the production center. One is at the Berry Center. The Berry Center, we have refrigerated and frozen space there that we use as a distribution point. So we take a semi-truck load at a time over there. It gets distributed out to the schools on that side of the district in smaller vehicles. There you'll also notice it says we have one on the way. So thank you all for the bond project. One of the things that has enabled us to do is add some more storage on that side of the district. So that's over by Robeson Elementary in the Woods complex, and that's, Robinson, sorry. That's going to allow us to do some distribution. Sorry, and I'll tell you the reason I say it that way.
No, I'm just saying Arlene used to correct everybody, and so in memory.
But the reason I do that is because of our system of distribution. Every school, when we send stuff out, it goes in these big racks that have a tag. Well, if you are doing Robinson and Robinson, it's very easy to get those tags mixed up. They're pretty far away, so if the food for one goes to another, they get mixed up. So in our office, we do purposely mispronounce it just to make a point, so I meant no offense. So we have that one on the way, and that's going to enable us really to serve that growing side of the district because the space we have at the Berry Center, by the time we got in, we'd kind of overgrown it. So right now we do about 20 routes each day that can be frozen, refrigerated, dry, paper goods. And then that bottom note there, and you can see in the picture, we'll see a bigger picture later, are 2 pedal-powered smoothie machines. That's a thing that we're really proud of, and not a lot of districts are doing that. We use those for public relations events. We use them for family fitness nights. It's basically a stationary bicycle with a blender attached. We bring over a lot of fresh ingredients. The kids hop on, and they pedal them and make smoothies. It's a really cool thing, and I think there are about 3 districts in the country that are doing it, but it is growing because on our social media, we plug the heck out of it. So I'm going to talk briefly about the things we do take seriously, and that really is child nutrition. Like those of you who know me will know that I will make a joke occasionally here or there. This part of our job we do take seriously. Our chef, Chef Brent, many of you have met him. Brent trained at the Culinary Institute of America, which is really one of the premier culinary places that you can learn how to be a chef. He's classically trained. He runs that production center. We have 7 registered dietitians on staff, and for a food service department operating in a school district, that's a big number. So of those, we have our assistant director of nutrition, our child nutrition coordinator is a dietitian, marketing and special diets is a dietitian, our food service buyer, and 3 of our field supervisors. So we have a lot of people with hands-on and clinical dietetics nutrition knowledge. In addition to those, we have 2 other staff members that have degrees in nutrition. They just never sat for the test. But we've got a lot of smart people. None of those are me. I have a couple of degrees from Louisiana public schools. But I've got good people, and that's the smartest thing that I Here's something that I would like to highlight that we're doing new this year, and we're looking to expand next year. It's a supper program that we do at Cy Lakes. So what we do from 3:30 to 5:30, 4 days a week, sometimes 5 days a week, we're able to serve a supper meal to the students out there that are there for tutoring or any after-school activity. Anybody who has kids in that age group probably knows that when they get home, they're hungry. This is an opportunity where we can feed 200 or 300 kids a night at no charge to them, at no charge to our local taxpayers. It's a federally funded program, and it's had some amazing results out there. So that's why I highlight it. I'm pretty proud of what we've been able to do there, and that's really a testament to Coach Patton out at Cy Lakes. I will give him a shout out if he's watching, because he's the one who came to us and said, is there a way I can get some food in some of these kids out here at night? I said, well, let me look. And we found a way. The cafeteria manager out there, Gladys Navarro, she's spearheaded it, and Sarah Hardy has spearheaded it too, and it's been a success. We would like to add some schools next year. The biggest thing that's going to be dependent on is finding teams at that school or at any school that want it. We have to have champions. We've got to have principals behind it, and the whole admin has to be behind it. But they've done a fantastic job out there. Community outreach, this is some stuff we do kind of for fun. There are smoothie bikes again. We had those at the superintendent fun run. We do a bunch of family fitness nights, family fitness days. Basically, every time we can get those out, we do them. Again, it's something that we can provide to the community at no cost. We can absorb that cost through child nutrition and really do some good stuff, get people engaged in something that is healthy and active. The top picture there is our food tasting that we do annually at the Berry Center. We have, I think this year, about 500 or 600 people came out. Those are community members who can come see food that we're looking at for next year. We can answer questions, have them try them. It also is a way to showcase the Berry Center as a place to have community events. So we're very proud of that. So that's the serious side. Here's the not serious side. We do have some fun. Here are some of our staff members. Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot show up tonight, or I would recognize them if there were any. I assure you they're supporting me in spirit. But these are just some of the things that we've done. Over on the right, you'll see that's kind of our end of the year party at the production center. We usually let the staff there pick a theme. They dress up. They take about 2 hours and have some fun after the hours that they put in working, and we really appreciate that. This is a food tasting that we did. That's our administrative staff there out of Blyle Middle School. We were trying a new product out there. We wanted the kids to vote on it, so some of our folks dressed up a little bit. And there's one of our cafeterias down there at the bottom. And you'll see smiling faces there, and that is ultimately our goal, is to have them smiling, because like you'll hear from some of my colleagues here, you know, we touch almost every kid every day. So it's important that our ladies and gentlemen have some fun. So we try to embrace that. I put this slide up here just to really say, for anybody up here, anybody watching on television, I could talk to you for literally hours about our program, which I won't. I could. The best way for anybody, be it a community member, board member, whoever, to experience our program is to come out and experience our program. You know, we're serving breakfast and lunch 5 days a week, every week. Lunch is $3.50. Let me know you're coming. I'll join you out there. I'll buy your lunch. But I think if people come and see what we do and experience what we're doing for those kids, they'll really gain an appreciation of the dedication of those 1,200 people who work for me. That's just a listing of our social media sites. We try to plug them. But now I will plug one of my favorite people in the district, our Director of Operations, Tammy Blankenship. Thank y'all.
Saw Darren dressed there as the guy in the chicken outfit. You might have seen him online dressed as a lunch line lady. If you haven't seen it, you should go online and watch it.
I'm disappointed that he didn't show up.
I know. He's awesome. He's a great guy. Thank you, my friend. The operations department. This is my administrative staff, Andy Correa, Sori Young, Jeffrey Morales, and we just recently added a new supervisor, Carlos Roca. We're an innovative, creative, think outside the box group. There's no challenge too small or too big. We're a multicultural department. We speak English, Spanish, Chinese, Vietnamese, Portuguese, French, and I know Indian. So we speak numerous languages. Most of my management staff is bilingual. I was talking to Matt. I consider myself bilingual, but it's West Texas. So yeah. Matt's West Texas. I think Bill is. And I think Stuart might be, right? Okay, so he can understand. All right, so we are a multicultural department. Okay, the picture to the right are our area managers. The one up top is our area managers and our admin staff. The one to our left is our secretarial staff. Our operating hours are 6 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. at night. We have 99 morning custodians, 80 midday custodians. Now, those are our day staff. So what they do is they maintain the buildings while we have students and staff in the buildings. 466 clean at night. They do the disinfection and the cleaning. We have 22 trade employees that do special projects. We have 6 area managers that at night maintain and supervise 115 buildings. Our total staff is 673. Of the 673, 466 night custodians clean 16.7 million square feet nightly. This is from the Department of Education Planning Guide. We level 1 clean. This is what most school districts across the country utilize. Level 1 cleaning is spotless. It's like a hospital environment. Each custodian will clean between 10,000 to 11,000 square feet in an 8-hour period. Level 2 cleaning is uppermost in for most school districts, and it's high-end. Custodian can clean between 18,000 to 20,000 square feet in an 8-hour shift. Level 3 cleaning is normal, average, acceptable. Each custodian cleans between 28,000 to 31,000 square feet in an 8-hour period. We typically maintain our buildings at a level 2 cleaning, but each custodian cleans approximately 36,000 square feet per custodian in an 8-hour period. So we do that through strong leadership, training, mentorship, hiring good people, providing good equipment, good technology, and also utilizing microfiber. Not only do we clean 16.7 million square feet per night, we also do high dusting projects utilizing our scissor lift summer moves. We also do renovation cleanup, make ready for school, first day of school, welding and repair of cafeteria tables. We do pressure washing of all exterior surfaces and buildings. We also do deep cleaning projects. I work very closely with our health services department when we have a virus outbreak or we have a staph infection outbreak. We have developed and implemented a protocol that we utilize to go in and eradicate viruses quickly. We also do mold remediation when needed. We also refinish 54 gym floors and 80 stages in 2 months during the summer. We also repair our own equipment. We also do waste management, hazardous material disposal, light bulb replacement and recycling, ceiling tile replacement, and we also do large item pickup and delivery district-wide. We also are first responders. Many times we're the first on the scene. This is what we see when we walk into buildings that have had a flood event. This is Cy Falls and Cy Fair. Of course, Cy Falls happened last spring. Cy Fair just happened this is a recent Cy Fair, January. What we do is we go and get the water out, assess the damage, extract the water, then we start the drying process. Sometimes you have to remove carpet, sometimes you have to remove sheetrock, you have to do flood cuts, you have to remove the carpet and dry out everything in the area cabinets. The one on the bottom to the left, where it looks like rapids, that was at Cy Fair. What happened was there was it was during that cold snap, if y'all remember that. We had an exterior rooftop mechanical room that the HVAC pipe froze and burst. So what happened was all that water just kept flooding out and flooding out. So about 6 rooms had 3 to 4 inches of water in it. This happened on a Saturday, so we got to have it ready by Monday. So 3 to 4 inches of water in it. There was, on that rooftop mechanical room, there were 18 inches of water in that room. So what we had to do, we had to try to get equipment up through the roof hatch. We couldn't get it to go through the roof hatch. So what we did is we disassembled the equipment, pulled it up the side of the building, reassembled it, and extracted 18 inches of water out of the mechanical room and got it ready to go for Monday. So our department, the operations department, is one that's innovative, creative, thinks outside the box, and I have a really, really awesome staff, very proud of. I'd like to also thank everybody that supports our department, Roy Sprague, Matt Morgan, Dr. Henry, the associates, all of the associates in the school board. It's very, very important, and we feel that you care for us, and we relay that to the custodians. One of the other groups that I really, really want to thank that has always been there for us and is always extremely, extremely supportive, and we really work closely as a team together, are our principals. As you can see there, they know what the custodians do, they know how hard they work, and they thank them on a consistent basis. So I want to thank our principals and do a shout out to them. At this time, I would like to introduce my staff that is here. Could the operations team please stand? Just a great, great group to work with. We're really like a family, and that really makes all the difference. At this time, I would like to introduce Severin Castro, Assistant Director for the Purchasing Department.
Thank you so much, Tammy, and thank you to the board for this great opportunity to showcase our wonderful departments. It's a privilege for me to introduce you to our purchasing department, our distribution and mail center, and then also our print center. All those are really housed at the Winfield Administrative Annex. I'm personally working for the purchasing department, so that's where I'll get started. We're really your CFISD gatekeepers for all items that come with purchases, and we make sure the school district follows all federal and state laws in those purchases. You already know us from all the solicitations and contracts we get across your desk every month. Of course, our main goal is to provide a value to the district and to make sure our services and our goods that are purchased do provide the best value to the district, always keeping that taxpayer money in mind as well. Little bit of tidbit of information. We have about 2,500 different vendors in our vendor database right now, ranging from local to national vendors. We purchase anything for the school district, from a number 2 pencil to a bus, floor scrubbers, educational technology, you name it, it probably comes from our office. We also purchase the stock for the distribution center. That's the maintenance stock, furniture, office supplies, paper, lots of paper. We get about 870 cases of white copy paper every week. That's just white paper. We do the solicitation and contract management, as you know. Capital outlay expenses, we support maintenance and operations in their purchasing needs. 3 of our buyers alone are dedicated to maintenance purchases, so they make sure that our maintenance department, our technicians, have the parts they need in a timely manner to really outfit the schools, get back out there and get the schools up and running. And those are electricians, plumbers, HVAC, food services, appliances, lawn irrigation, a lot of different trades overall. We do the fixed asset management for the school district. And then one little tidbit many of you may not know is that we also furnish and equip the new and renovated schools and support facilities. Annually, we coordinate in excess of $120 million in purchases and contracts in our little office. I can talk about contracts all day long. It's not why we're here. I want to show you some of the fun things we actually get to do. Here's some of the pictures of the newly and renovated schools we had from last year. We have Lead Elementary, Cypress Park High School that opened last year. That was our first true 21st century type of school, and then Woodard Elementary with their flex spaces. We really could bring in the 21st century and very personalized to that building kind of environment. We also do the external finishes, meaning we do benches, all the playgrounds run through our office, the design of the playgrounds. We work very close with the maintenance department. So any school that needs a replacement playground, parts, anything like that, will also come through us. In January 2016, the purchasing office spearheaded the 21st Century Furniture exhibit that was held at the Berry Center. that resulted in a streamlined furniture plan for future school development and remodel. And that new type of furniture really allows for more of a collaborative learning environment and easy reconfiguration, not just for the students and the teachers, but also for the operations department, for example. So we have many more things that are foldable, flip-top tables on casters, just making life a little easier on all these campuses. Franco-Nex Elementary is a great example of that. It's a remodel, so we were able to kind of incorporate some of that already in that school. I just love this picture. This is really why we do what we do, is to see the students and the staff actually use what is put into the buildings. It takes roughly 380 different line item products of different quantities to open a new elementary school. About 1,450 different line items to open a high school. And those numbers are from Woodard and Cy Park. So for Cy Park, we're still buying a few items, of course. We work very closely with the schools as well as with facilities and construction to select the products, place the orders for the products, and then also coordinate all the installs. So we're actually on site when the furniture arrives, or we work very closely with the vendor to coordinate that, to really take that away from our administrative staff that's really trying to open the school. I don't work in the classroom. I could not do their job. I don't think they would prefer to do my job either. It's just I had to showcase Cypress Park High School. It was a little bit of my baby too, so I worked a lot on that furniture with the school and the 21st Century Committee. You can see some of the classroom furniture there in the center. It has different height tables for the students, so you have standing height and seated height. Even on the standing height tables, we have chairs. They're all height adjustable. They're all on casters, so the students really have that mobility and that flexibility. The library is outfitted in a way, so the flex areas in the lobby, that really looks more like a college campus already than maybe a high school that we used to see. And if you haven't been out there recently, that lobby furniture on the top left and those flex spaces were just outfitted last week, so it's definitely worth a visit out there. They're pretty much outfitted now, minus any additional needs in the future they may have. Woodard Elementary is a great example for flex spaces as well. At Woodard, we waited quite a while to really put those in, and just coordinated for each grade level individually. So on the right side, you can see the smaller kids type of furniture. They're like 12 inches tall little stools for the pre-K and kinder, and then going into 4th grade on the left, where it's a little more of that Cy Park feel already, a little more lounge. It can be reconfigured. The teachers can go out there with a small group or larger group and really use those spaces. We also outfit other support facilities. West Green Transportation Center, for example, that just recently opened. Not just the administrative furniture, but we also take care of the service space and body shops and pretty much all the furniture, fixtures, and equipment that go into that building that's not part of the contract that facilities has. Just the transportation center alone, those body shops and service space for over 250 different products. Again, different quantities. It's all the tools, the workbenches, things like that that go in. Also housed at the Winford Annex is the distribution center, and the mail center is under the umbrella, even though they're not housed there. The distribution center delivers twice a week to 106 locations within the district, which is quite amazing. They have over 7,000 different SKUs in their warehouse. Most of them we purchase. And again, includes anything from art supplies, the maintenance parts, some furniture, your office supplies. So the schools have quick access to those products that they need on a regular basis. And then we also have the mail center that works under distribution center. They do mail delivery to 101 locations daily, and they really make it a focus to meter that mail that they pick up on that same day so it can be delivered and sent out very quickly. So it's a fast turnaround for them. And then we also have the printing and production center at our site. I only have one slide for them. Oh, too far. Here we go. They do make about 90 million impressions annually. There's so much to say about them, but it's just not enough time. Year to date, though, they have made 71 million impressions on 8.5 by 11 only. So that includes your printed forms that are used by health services and other departments, maybe HR. We have student workbooks. We have art books. We have the benchmark and DPM testing that's done in that print center. Usually that's about 1 million copies alone every year. Graduation programs. If you've been at a CFIC theater performance and you had a program, it was probably printed at the print center in that building. And it's not a big print center. It always amazes me how much volume can come out of that. At this time, I would like to ask all the staff from the purchasing office, the distribution and mail center, and the print center staff to stand if they're present so they can be recognized. And I'd like to thank everyone for all the hard work that they do every day. Thank you very much. At this time, I would like to introduce my colleague, Mr. Bill Powell, the Director of Transportation.
Thank you. Thank you, Severin. Good evening. Excuse me. I would like to thank the board, Dr. Henry, Mr. Sprague, Mr. Morgan, for your support and guidance to allow us to do what we do every day. Many people think our everyday is simply picking up kids and taking them to and from school, and with an occasional field trip here and there. And we do that. However, most people do not know that not only does Cy-Fair ISD transport more students daily than any other school district in the state of Texas and most school districts in the nation, we transport the largest percentage of our student population and offer transportation services to all of our eligible students because, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, school buses are approximately 7 times safer than a passenger car, and students are 50 times more likely to arrive alive at school when taking the school bus instead of a car. Thanks to over 1,400 incredible women and men, we transport approximately 75,000 students to and from school every morning and afternoon, and average approximately 5,000 students daily on field trips and shuttles, traveling more than 8.2 million miles annually, or just over 46,000 miles daily. We accomplish this task with our now 5 transportation centers. Our Falcon Transportation Center, led by Mr. Demetrius Martin, our Telge Center, led by Mr. Jeff Snedeker, our Barker Center, led by Miss Cindy Mooneyham, our Eldridge Center, led by Miss Cheryl Hill, and our new West Green Center, led by Mr. Paul Landis. Of course, we couldn't travel the number of miles we do without our incredible technicians who service and repair over 1,400 district vehicles, led by Mr. Joel Mooneyham. Mr. Mooneyham came to us from Cy Ridge High School, where he was instrumental in the Automotive Youth Educational Systems, or AES program, and bringing that program into our transportation department. 8 students have completed the AES program, and we've been fortunate enough to retain 3 of them after graduation as technicians in our department. These are just a few of the men and women, the incredible men and women that transport our students to and from school every day and take those field trips. It is very challenging maintaining a staff of over 1,200 part-time individuals working a split shift. However, our transportation HR team, led by Mr. Fernando Zambrano, and our trainers, led by Mr. Robert McDaniel, do an incredible job of keeping us staffed through our turnover and our growth. Just last year alone, they were responsible for hiring and training 135 drivers, 99 attendants, and 7 other various positions within our department. Just a side note, approximately 17% of those people that apply to be a school bus driver actually make it through our screening process and our training program. Our GPS and Z-Pass programs are led by Ms. Brenda Rinkin. We currently average over 165,000 student scans daily, with over 10,000 parents signed up to receive notifications of when and where their children got on and off the school bus. I cannot express the peace of mind this program has given me and the parents of the students who ride our school buses. Our GPS program has assisted our dispatchers and the Cy-Fair Police Department to quickly find the location of a bus that may be experiencing problems. And our Z-Pass program has helped transportation, campus administrators, and CFPD to locate numerous students who have gotten on the wrong bus or off at the wrong stop. Knowing where a student got off the bus gives the officers the precise coordinates of where to begin their search. Fortunately, all students have been found safe, usually at a friend's house or playing nearby their home. Our campuses have also expressed their satisfaction of the program now that they are able to locate a student on the bus when a parent calls and know the exact location of the buses assigned to their campus. Through telematics, our shop foremen are able to run engine diagnostic reports and repair concerns before they even become problems, most of the time making the repairs or the service before a driver even knows there may be a problem with their school bus. Our operations and routing programs are led by Ms. Kim Coleman. Working with our administration and principals, we have established a 3-tier bell schedule in an effort to make the most use of our school buses. As you can see, we currently have 537 regular education routes, or 1,474 runs, and 181 special need routes, or 417 runs. And we take over 14,000 field trips annually. If we did not have a 3-tiered bell schedule and all of our campuses started at the same time, we would need approximately 1,170 additional bus drivers and school buses. I would like to thank our school board, Dr. Henry, our administration, more importantly, our community, for passing our 2014 bond program. Without the passage of this bond, or with the passage of this bond, we were able to reinstate home-to-school service for several thousand students and reinstate 143 late runs for students who stay after school for additional academic needs, tutoring, and/or UIL participation. And unfortunately, we have 212 students in our district who have experienced or are currently experiencing homelessness this school year. The McKinney-Vento Act provides these students with the right to continue attending their school of origin to maintain some consistency in these students' lives. The Act also necessitates that school districts provide transportation services for these students to and from their school of origin, even if they are seeking shelter outside of their campus attendance zone or even outside of our district. And we are happy to do so. This year, we have provided or are currently providing transportation services for 126 of these students to and from Alief, Alvin, Fort Bend, Houston, and several other area districts. According to the Texas Association of School Business Officials, salaries and benefits account for approximately 80 to 85% of school districts' budget. A survey conducted a few years ago by New Caney ISD demonstrates the number of transportation office staff, that includes supervisors, paraprofessionals, and dispatchers, to the number of students transported. These are the men and women behind the scenes taking the calls and solving problems. And as you can see, the average is 761 staff members to 761 students transported to one staff member. And CFISD ranks the highest with 1,360 students transported to one staff member. We're not perfect, but these men and women do an incredible job. Now, if you can imagine the disagreements 75,000 students may have on a bus and what they may leave behind on a bus, and the number of other motorists we encounter traveling over 23,000 miles in the morning, and the number of disagreements these same 75,000 students may have and what they may leave on the bus, and the other motorists we encounter traveling over 23,000 miles in the afternoon. Oh, and let's not forget the approximately 65 daily field trips. If you can imagine that, then yeah, we simply take kids to and from school, and we throw in a field trip here and there. At this time, I would like for our transportation personnel in the audience who help make this happen to stand and be recognized for the incredible job they do every day. Thank you.
Now you can see why we're so proud of this group. They do a fantastic job. They've got great leadership in all their departments. We'll be happy to answer any questions. And now you see why we didn't let Roy talk.
That was very, very impressive. You know, we all know about the academic success at Cypress-Fairbanks, but I venture to say that a lot of that has to do with the people that support the teachers and principals and our students. So we're very grateful for all of you that help our kids have a great day at school. Any questions, comments? Mr. Jackson?
There are many things that we could say, and I won't steal all the comments from my colleagues up here, but a couple to highlight. Mr. Crawford, as you know and Matt knows, Christine and I toured the facility. We did taste the food. The food was good. But you, like most of the other folks here in Cypher, are a little too modest. Mm-hmm. What you left out of your presentation is that the facility this district has in nutrition and food service is considered best practices in the state of Texas. Other districts have toured the facility to try and emulate it. And even though they can spend more money than this district does, they cannot deliver the way this district does. So that is a little kudo and a hats off to your people, because it's more than just the system, it's the people who make the system work. So much appreciated, and on the board, we recognize the tremendous job you're doing. I would also like to point out that the business plan of this district, which is having educated, talent people in the right position, such as nutritionists, as well as our nurses, our architects, continues. And that is not something that you find in school districts across the state. So it's a key component of the business plan of this district to put talent exactly where talent is needed. And I applaud management for taking those steps. And Mr. Powell, on the transportation side, Christine and I have also visited some of your facilities. And once again, our transportation services is considered best practices in the state of Texas. Other districts, once again, have tried to emulate what you do, and they have not been successful. If I remember right, your group consistently ranks among the top 3 or 4 in the entire nation in terms of efficiency and effectiveness in transporting students on a daily basis. That's not just good, that's really great. So be sure and let everybody know how much we appreciate it. And I know my former tennis partner is no longer a bus driver for you, but I certainly appreciate the job that he did, both for y'all as well as with me on the court. So thank you, Mr. Powell.
Any other comments, questions? Dr. Ogletree?
This is to Mr. Powell. I'd like to know if you could share with us how the transportation for the homeless works, especially when it goes cross district to another district.
We work in conjunction with the other district. If the student's campus of origin is in our district, and let's say they moved somewhere in Houston, Star of Hope or another shelter that may be in Houston, we work with Houston ISD and we will provide transportation one way. Or a lot of times we'll provide transportation both ways, and then we'll just bill the district for our services. But yes, we've transported kids Clear Creek, Alvin, Pasadena, several area districts. You're welcome.
Any other comments? Mr. Covey?
Well, the TEA always says that boards need to be interested in academic achievement. And with these support services we have in this district, you're obviously supporting academic achievement in everything that you do by keeping the kids from being hungry. I think the idea of the supper is just awesome. Thank you for doing that. For being able to take our buses and do 3 rounds. I guess I have a question. Does that mean our buses age faster than anybody else's? Or, but it's just amazing. And to think that you have people that are driving that will make 3 runs for us, 3 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon, that's just phenomenal. And it's just everything else that you are doing as support services is helping our kids achieve. And I appreciate all of you for what you're doing. Thank you.
Ms. Blackshear?
I think the reports we've heard today just affirm what many of us in this community already knew, and that Cypher ISD is the best district because we have the best people. And people make the difference. And as a mother and now a grandmother of students in our district, I so appreciate the support of all of these departments because, as Bob pointed out, it all leads to their education experience. And I've often said, I've been a bus buddy for many years, that if you really want to appreciate a bus driver, you just need to be a bus buddy and see some of the different things that happen on the bus, and you wonder how they can drive the bus safely and yet sometimes referee, and keep an eye on the kids to make sure they remain in their seats and stay safe. So I just applaud all of the departments for the amazing job you do for our district. I greatly appreciate it.
Mr. Ryan?
That was an awesome report. A couple things that stood out is I drove one of those buses one time for the bus rodeo. Nightmare. I mean, I thought I was going to clip a building. It was just terrible. I would not have been in that 17%. I'd have been in the 83 that didn't quite make the cut. I can tell you that. That was horrendous. So I had a newfound appreciation for our bus drivers. But the other thing is that when you talk about our custodians, they do so much more than clean these buildings, guys. Really so much more. Cy-Fair had a legend in Jerry Brown, I can tell you that. The kids loved him, but you hear stories in the district about the custodians. They're mentoring kids. They're actually tutoring kids. I mean, our custodial staff is remarkable, and just the cleaning is just a small portion of what they do. And so I'm really grateful for that report, because that they need to be highlighted even more, because our schools are immaculate. If you go around to some other schools that I have, there's some dumps out there, and I'm not going to mention your district. Well, you know who you are, okay? Let's just get that out there. I grew up in one of those. Exactly. We all know who it is. Not in this case, no. So they do a great job. So thank you for that report. It really was an awesome report. And the food's come a long way. I can tell you that. When I was in school, not so good. And now, the amazing thing about the food service, especially on campus, is it's almost, they're herding cats, basically. And when I was at Aragon for a day, it was just, I was shocked. I was like, there's no way. I mean, these kids got like 22 minutes to eat, to be served and to eat, and daily it's done. And that just floors me. Go into a middle school lunchroom, and you'll stand there just with your mouth open like, holy cow, this is amazing. So they do a wonderful job, especially at the campus level. So thank you guys for that.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Mr. Covey?
Just one more, and to go along with what Ms. Blackshear said, when we do bus buddies again, could you furnish buses that have a little more leg room in the front? Because, I mean, I feel like my knees are under my chin, and that's not good for an overweight guy. I'm just going to tell you. And then for the cleaning, I would like to get one of those mops that do the tables like y'all do, because that is fast. That's just amazing. Y'all are awesome. You're awesome.
That was a wonderful report. Now, I know that there are a lot of people in the audience that came for that report, and I would love to give them an opportunity to leave if they have other things they need to do this evening. No, Mr. Covey, let's let them leave. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Before you go, let's hear Ms. Hartley's comment. I missed it. I'm so sorry, y'all.
I wanted to echo what they were saying. I've done the thing about the cafeteria. You guys do an amazing job. I remember when I'd be at Alt, being a mom, and we had 1,400, and then when we opened Keith, and it was half the amount of students, and Donna Guthrie and I sat there, and we were like, isn't it amazing? I mean, it was so calm with 1,400. It was so calm with 700. And it was really, really amazing. The buses, I've ridden so many chaperone buses late in the night with drill team chaperones, and they are still so friendly and kind and wonderful at 1 a.m. You have great people. But I did also want to give a shout out to purchasing and the print shop and all that you do. I've been at Bain a couple of times and talking to Dr. Mars about everything that's coming and just the amount of opening a new school, and then our ones that are getting redone. You do so much. And the print shop, shout out. I've been over there many times doing different things for the drill team, and it is amazing how efficient, how fabulous, how professional you are. So thank you.
Dr. Ogletree?
And I asked a question, but I do want to thank everyone in every department for all that you do. I remember opening up our new high school and seeing the operation all that furniture in there, all the boxes, and you wonder how in the world is all of this going to be distributed and placed in the right place. Yeah, you all do a phenomenal job. Thank you.
That furniture is spectacular too, all the new furniture. I know the kids are really liking it. At this time, if you need to leave, please do so. We're just going to take just 1 minute of a break. Okay, yeah, we're ready to go. All right. 4B, the administration will provide an oral report on the 2014 bond update, and I believe we have 3 presenters, Roy Sprague, Linda Macias, and Stuart Snow. Who's starting?
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and do the lead. Before we get started, I just wanted to thank my fellow colleagues, Stuart, Linda, Frankie, Dylan, and the rest of the team. And I want to give a shout out to my secretary, Colleen Gallagher, who helped organize this all together for us. Without them, we couldn't have gotten this presentation put together for y'all tonight. So with that, I'll get started. As you recall, we passed a bond election back in May of 2014 for approximately $1.2 billion. I still have a hard time saying that word billion, but it's a lot of money. And it comprised 5 major areas. It included the safety and security component, which we had about $55 million of funds for, transportation, which you heard some of the things tonight, about $75 million, our student growth, as well as our campus and support facilities improvements, and specifically technology and instructional technology. And I'll go through several of these items and give you a quick update as to where we are in the process. In terms of safety and security, just as a little reminder, these are some of the improvements that we included in our facilities. Lockdown panic buttons, security cameras, both on the inside and exterior of the buildings. Did want to point out what we did include in the bond is we'll be adding 10 additional security cameras at our elementary schools, 20 cameras at our middle schools, and 40 at our high schools to supplement what they currently already have in place. In addition, we're doing secured vestibules at the front entries of the building. If you've been to, which I know y'all been at several campuses, you've seen our little buzzer and video phone that we have at the front entry to where the front office buzzes folks in to have that additional control and controlling visitors inside our facilities. We also have our card reader access points throughout the district at various locations at all our buildings. One of the other items that was included was the use of bullet-resistant glass at our entries throughout the district. And one of the other items was our improved emergency communications, which included purchasing of new digital radios, as well as the construction of 4 communication towers that we needed to include to take over that service from Harris County. As we stand today, we've completed all the intrusion detection panels, which is changing our security panel as you enter into the building for security access to a digital type device compared to the analog, and that work has already been completed. We've completed all the video camera and buzzer systems at our building entries, and also our card reader access points have been completed throughout the district. We're currently designing security vestibules throughout the district as we move forward with our renovations. We are approximately 31% complete with our bullet-resistant glazing that we're putting at the entries throughout the district. Our TV upgrades, which is our DVRs and other devices to support the additional cameras, we're currently in the design stages of those projects as we speak right now. And then the communication towers. We actually have 3 of the 4 towers constructed. The 4th tower actually was located at Cy Woods, and we put it in the path of an airport that's just kind of down the road from the facility called Dry Creek Airport. And we weren't able to get FAA approval, so we had to relocate the tower elsewhere on the site to get it out of the flight path, and we were successful in doing that. We recently just received FAA approval with the new location, and our team is working on moving forward with getting that tower constructed as soon as possible to do that. We have purchased all the radios, the digital radios, and they're being distributed throughout the district to our campuses and support departments. Right now, the lockdown panic buttons, we're about 26% complete to date. And we plan on finishing the rest of that project this summer. And then our emergency call stations, y'all recently awarded that contract at a previous board meeting, and we plan on having that work installed and completed this summer as well. Here's just some sample pictures of the upgrades. If you look at the picture on the left, that's an example of the video A-phone. As any visitors come to the building, they have to press the button, then they'll announce themselves and the receptionist will allow them to come in. The second picture to the right of that is the actual video phone that is sitting at our reception desk, and they can actually see the person that's walking up to the front door and to have a conversation with them and then to let them into the building after they communicate who they are. The two pictures on the right are just samples of some of the glazing that we're doing in these security vestibules and entryways to provide that bullet-resistant glass that we're doing to secure those front entries. The radio communication towers, we're installing these at 4 campuses. As I mentioned, Cypress Woods is currently under construction with our recent approval. We have towers located at Cook Middle School, Barker Cypress Transportation Center, as well as Cypress Creek High School. And if you recall, the reason we went to our own communication system. We currently had a lease with Harris County and leasing their tower. Unfortunately, there was only a 30-day termination clause in there, and we were very concerned that if they decided to cancel or terminate our lease, we would have some serious issues with our communications throughout the district. So we felt it was very much needed, and obviously our community supported that need as part of the bond program. The lockdown panic buttons, here's a couple of pictures of the devices. If you look at the picture on the right, it's a little blow up, but that's what the device looks like. We have those strategically located at the campuses where they're currently installed. We work with our campus leadership at the camp to determine the best locations for these. And basically, if there is a potential intruder in the building, our staff or even students could do this, lift the cover up, hit the button, and it sends an audible signal throughout the PA system, which is very distinct, which immediately tells the campus you're in lockdown mode and starts your lockdown procedures. And the campuses are going through trainings to train their staff and their students as part of that procedure to make sure we can keep our students and staff safe. The emergency call stations, if you look at the contract you recently approved, this is a sample of one of the ones we've installed. This was installed at Cypress Park High School. If you've been to various college campuses, these are very similar to these devices, and we're strategically located them at our secondary campuses because those are much larger campuses throughout the district. And in case we had a medical emergency on one of our running tracks and having one of these close by, somebody could actually go utilize this device to be able to call our dispatch, and then we can dispatch EMS to the site to help with any medical issue or any criminal activity that may occur in our property. As I mentioned, we'll get these all completed and installed at secondary campuses this summer. Moving along to our transportation section, as you heard tonight on the transportation report, we reinstated, what was included in the bond program was we needed some additional buses to reinstate the 2-mile rule, as well as we needed to provide additional buses for student growth, as well as to work out a 15-year replacement cycle. And then we also included in that package was the GPS systems on our buses, as well as a brand new transportation center as part of the bond program. I'm happy to report that the transportation center has been completed, and we started rolling buses out of that center last week, and everything went very smoothly based on the reports I received from Matt and Bill. And so we're really excited about that facility and the services it's going to provide for our district. As I mentioned, we did reinstate the 2-mile service that immediate summer after the bond election was passed. We purchased some additional buses to accommodate that.
Hey, Roy, just for clarification, talk about what reinstating 2-mile service. I know our board knows But just for those listening at home, just so they understand what that means.
Basically, prior, with budget cuts that we had many years ago, we had to cut our service. So we did not bus students within 2 miles of our school. And that created some hardships for various families. We received a lot of complaints during the course of that process. So what we decided, and going through the bond study, that in order to solve that problem is we can purchase some additional buses that would allow us to get more routes established and get the drivers out there to be able to reinstate that 2-mile rule. So we are now able to bus all students in the district within 2 miles of the campus as well as beyond. We had a total of 436 buses included in our bond program for purchase, for growth, and 15-year replacement. We're about 73% complete. We purchased a total of 317 buses to date, and we'll continue purchasing additional buses as we continue forward with the rest of the bond program. I did want to state that most districts usually have a 12-year replacement cycle on their buses. But as you've heard, the excellent job that our transportation department does and how we maintain and repair our buses, we're able to extend the life of our buses from 12 years to 15 years, which is a big savings to our taxpayer as we move forward. The video surveillance and the GPS systems have been installed, as Bill reported to you tonight, and the data that he provided you with those systems, and they've really worked out extremely well. I've heard nothing but compliments from parents to be able to have that ability to know when the students get on or off the bus based on the email notification, and it really has assisted us in locating any misplaced students at the end of the day. Here's some pictures of the new West Green Transportation Center. If you haven't had a chance to visit the facility, I would highly recommend it. We're very proud of this center. It's located on West Green Boulevard, adjacent to our Cypress Park High School. And you see some pictures of our shop area as well as the fueling bay and an overview aerial of the facility itself. I'm going to move to student growth now. Included in the 2014 bond program, we had 3 new elementary schools, which is elementary schools 57 and 58, as well as a Matsky replacement. And we also had middle school number 19 included in the bond program. We also had land purchases for future sites as we continue to prepare for growth throughout the district over the next 10 years or so. We included a natatorium, which we located at the Pridgeon Stadium. We have a new agricultural science center, as well as a food service cold food warehouse that's under construction. A quick update of where we stand. Based on the current demographic studies and information and projections, Elementary 57 is projected to open in 2021. So we'll actually start design work sometime in February 2019 to meet that opening date. Elementary 58 is scheduled to, projected to open in 2023, so we anticipate starting that project around February 2021 to be ready for the opening. Middle School 19, we have started the design process on that. We're actually doing that a little bit earlier, just in case we have a need to where the middle school would be needed sooner. But right now the projections are August 2020 for that opening date. And then Matsky Elementary School, we're about 65 to 70% complete. These percentages here listed are based on the actual pay applications that are submitted by the contractors on their billings. In most cases, some of the percentages are a little bit more than that's indicated in his presentation. We're on schedule to have the building ready for occupancy in August of 2017 this year. The natatorium is well underway, and we're anticipating getting everything wrapped up in early June this year. They're working on the pool right now, and we're about 86% complete. Our West Green Agricultural Science Center is complete, and we're currently housing projects for students at that facility, and it's working out very, very well. The satellite cold food storage, that's located over there by our Cypress Woods campus, and we're about 84% complete with construction. And you previously authorized us at a recent board meeting to pursue a site purchase that we're currently in the negotiation stage to acquire about a 145-acre multi-campus site that's located south of 290 and north of the Bridgeland. And that's underway as we continue our negotiations. Here's an aerial view of the new Matsky Elementary School currently under construction. And I did want to point out, because I've been asked this question many times by patrons, is that at the corner of Mills Road and Perry Road, we used to have a lot of trees there. Well, we don't own that property, but we've received phone calls asking why did we cut those trees down. And I was happy to report it wasn't us, it was somebody else doing that. But as you can see, that really opened up that site. If you've driven down Perry Road and Mills Road and seen that corner where you can see of all of Cypress Creek as well as Matsky Elementary School. But that project is progressing very well, and we're very excited about this new design and getting it open in August. Here's some pictures of the completed West Green Agricultural Center. Here's the entry to the left, and then you see a picture of all the pens we have for the animals and for the student projects. Our satellite cold food warehouse is located right there at the corner of Wood Spillane Boulevard and Spring Cypress. We had some extra acreage left over on that multi-campus site for us to locate that, which worked out great because we didn't have to go purchase another site and save taxpayer dollars. Currently, it's under construction. As I mentioned, we're about 85% complete with that project. The natatorium, the picture on the left is the pool that's underway, and it's well underway, and we're plastering the pool and installing the tile and getting that all completed. And this is going to be just a great facility for us for the district, and especially on that side of the district by Pridgeon Stadium. And we hope to have that ready for June. And then some other pictures of just the ongoing construction on the interior of the facility. Here's the exterior view as it stands. And that was the final rendering that was produced by PBK Architects for us to what the building will look like when we're done. I'm going to move to the campus and support facility improvements in the district, which included major renovations, additions, program enhancements, as well as asset protection of our facilities throughout the district. Here's an update on our major renovations and additions. Adam Elementary School, we are about 67% complete. That included some additions as well as renovations to the main building. Bain Elementary School is in the 45 to 50% complete right now at this stage. We've been having to work with the City of Houston, and that's always an interesting process for us to work with to get building permits and inspections and approvals along the way throughout construction. And that's the reason why you see Bain that has a little bit lower percentage completion compared to the other facilities regarding the City of Houston campuses. Watkins Middle School is 60% complete, and probably closer to 65 now. Francone Elementary School, we're in the closeout stage. We still have a little bit of punch list work to finish from the last summer's project, and dealing with the closeout project manuals and so forth that are required by the contractor. And then Dean Middle School is well underway as well. Again, City of Houston project, and we're still dealing with the city on inspections and so forth. So we're a little farther behind than the other campuses in terms of construction progress. And then we'll be talking to you later about the Matsky Elementary School in another presentation later this evening. Adam Elementary School, this was the front entry designed by VLK Architects, and if you look on the right, was the existing entry before we started the project. This entry has actually been relocated. I'm sorry, never mind, that's a different project. Bain, we relocated the entry. Here's some sample photographs of the completed addition area of the building, and the campus has started occupying this part of the building. The picture on the left is a picture of our learning commons and flex space, and administration workroom in the center, as well as the nurse's office on the right side. Bain Elementary School, we relocated the front entry from where it is currently located. This is the rendering from the architects, as well as the rendering for the interior library. The picture on the left is before we started the project, an aerial view, and now you can see our new front entry under construction, as well as a new gym that's being constructed as part of those improvements at the campus. Watkins Middle School, the picture on the left is the rendering by the architects of the new front entry, and we're basically filling in that alcove area from the original design, and then you can see the picture on the right is the interior rendering of that front entry and the library space. One of the things that was included in our bond program was the installation of running tracks at our middle school campuses, and the picture on the left is the running track underway at Watkins. And we plan on having all this completed and ready for the 17-18 school year. The picture on the right is, as you can see, the construction of the main entry and the infill of the additions. And what was unique about this project, as I'm sure you've been by the campus, we have the portable building farm, and we have the building completely housed in the portable buildings. They only access the main building right now to the gymnasium as well as the cafeteria. And we plan on having everybody moved in, and then when we complete that move-in process, then we'll relocate or remove the portable buildings once completed. Here's some pictures of completed Francone Elementary School. One of the things we included in this project was replacement of the carpet and also the installation of different various walls to enclose the classrooms. And in talking with the principal over there, this has made a world of difference at this campus, and we're very excited to see the results we're going to see out of that campus. The picture in the center is the library area, and then the picture to the right is a picture of one of the workrooms. As you can see, it's a major transformation from what we had before we started that project. Dean Middle School, one of the things we decided to do with Dean as part of the bond program is to go ahead and replace the portable buildings that are on the campus and build a classroom addition around the perimeter of the building, as well as take the old gym, which is probably the smallest gymnasium we have in the entire district, and it's very, very old. And so we're building a new gymnasium to match our current standards, and then we're converting that existing gym space to classroom space and instructional space. When we're done with the campus, we are planning on leaving the portable buildings at the campus because of the difficulty we have in dealing with the city of Houston and getting permits for portable buildings. There is one building we are going to remove that's located off of the bus drive area that impedes some of the traffic flows on the campus. That will be removed. With the other 8 buildings will remain on the campus, and then we'll keep them there and use, if for some reason we need portables at Holbrook or Bain, it'll be much easier for us to move that building from Dean to those campuses because they're all City of Houston buildings. But as you can see with the photographs, you can see the gym addition as well as one of the classroom additions that we have in the various parts. You can see some of the corridor construction on the right side, as well as the new running track that we're putting in on the bottom left picture. Also included in the bond program is program enhancements, which included renovations to Pridgeon Stadium, as well as adding, as I mentioned, the running tracks at the middle schools. We'll be working on dance floor enhancements at all the high schools. We're adding a culinary arts program at Bridgeland High School, as well as Cypress Ridge High School is included in the bond program. And then we'll also be renovating all the food labs and home economic areas at the high school level to continue to reinforce and upgrade for our culinary arts program. And then also one of the things we'll be doing this summer is completing the purchase of all the orchestra shells for our auditoriums and music programs. As you can see on the right side, we anticipate the dance floors to be completed in 2018 at Cy Falls and Cy Springs. We have those projects under construction. We just awarded contracts recently, and we'll be moving forward with those. The culinary arts at Bridgeland High School is included in the high school design and will obviously open in August of 2017. And then the food lab at Falls and Springs will also be completed in 2018. I'm sure y'all have all been to Pridgeon Stadium and seen the major improvements we've done over there. It's amazing the transformation we did at that facility and adding the press box and having the elevator access to the facility. Our architects and our facilities team did a phenomenal job in getting that project complete and being able to be utilized for our football season this past year. While we were under construction, I had previously reported to you when we had the floods in April, one of the pieces of the puzzle we had was we had to come in and replace the turf system that was only about 2 to 3 years old, and we had to include that and get that done in conjunction with the major renovations we're doing at the facility, and we were able to get that all coordinated and completed to be ready for football season. And I think everybody's really happy about the parking lot and how nice it is to drive up to that facility. Those were the major additions and renovation program enhancements. The rest of the bond component that was part of the facility renovation, which totaled about $667 million, was our asset protection for us to go in and replace roofs and carpets and upgrade mechanical and electrical systems and all the various parts and pieces of our building to keep these facilities in good shape and to continue our operations to make sure we provide a quality environment for our students. You've seen this before, our phasing schedule. Our phase 1 projects are basically complete except for the communication towers that we're working on, as well as the new natatorium in high school number 12. Of course, high school 12 was funded out of our 2007 authorization, but we included it in here as part of our phase 1 work. On our phase 2 projects, we have several projects that will be or have been completed, and then we have numerous projects that will be wrapped up this summer based on the schedule here. I'm not going to go into detail on each and every one of these, but our facilities team has been very, very busy the last couple of years getting these projects designed and bid and under construction. Our phase 3 projects, we're going to be awarding a lot of these projects. We've already awarded contracts for falls and springs, and a lot of the phase 3 work will be completed in August of 2018, except for some PA and fire alarm systems that we're looking at doing this summer based on the condition of those systems, that we've had some malfunctions, and so we've accelerated that as part of our schedule to take care of those items. The one thing I do want to point out, when we do bond sales and we work with Mr. Snow and his team in determining how much we need each and every year, what we've been doing is when we sold the funds on phase 3, we also included the architectural fees for the phase 4 projects. And what that allows us to do is we can start construction on the phase 3 projects, and then our design teams can start working on the design for the phase 4 projects. That is enabling us to get ahead of the curve with the construction market, and it's allowing us to get the design process done quicker and hopefully get our projects on the streets for proposals sooner, so we can get the better contractors and the better subcontractors on that. Dr. Henry challenged me and our team to see how we can, extend our schedules and give a little bit more time, so we're not always as crunched, in August to get these facilities open. So we've worked through that, and I think we have a system in place that's working very effectively. And when we sell bonds later this year, we will include the construction costs for phase 4 projects, and then we'll include the design fees for the phase 5 projects, so we can start that next round. And that enables us to work parallel and get these projects done on a little faster track. And then phase 4, these are the projects that we currently haven't designed: Thornton Middle School, Cook, Langham Creek, Truett, Hancock, and a few others. And then our phase 5 and our phase 6. As we get into phase 5 and 6, those are less renovation projects. They're more just dealing with some of the other miscellaneous upgrades and minor in nature, because most of those buildings are the newer campuses in the district as we move forward. This is, I think, the next 2 slides are the most important slides, because you've heard in the news of other school districts. I won't mention school district names, but other districts have had trouble with their bond programs and having some shortfalls and not being able to complete all their projects. But I'm happy to report that with our 2007 authorization, the dollars we had left with the projects that we currently have, which is elementaries 55, 56, as well as high school 11 and 12, and a couple other minor renovation projects we're doing. Right now, based on the current contracts we have in place and our current projections, we feel we're going to be returning roughly $3.2 million to the district as projected savings as a result of what we do and the completion of those projects. On our 2014 bond projects, where we are to date with all the work that's been accomplished in various stages, we're projecting a surplus of about $10.1 million. And I can tell you we're extremely happy with that projection, and we're very happy that numbers are calling out true like we had projected when we did the bond program. That is always a challenge for us when we're trying to put pricing together, when we're developing a bond authorization and study, is to try to project what the future cost of construction is going to be. And so far, our projections are holding on right on track. As you can see in phase 2, we're within $1,200 of the projected costs that we had for the projects that were in phase 2. And then phase 3, right now with projects we bid so far, we're already seeing an $8.3 million savings to our contracts. And in phase 4, I'm showing showing zero right now because we haven't bid out any of those projects, so we're just making an assumption we're going to be on target with the projections of those costs. If you recall, in the bond study, because of the large size of the bond program, we were only able to include roughly 2 years of inflation at 7% in our numbers from 2014 forward. So it really gave us the inflation cover through 2016. So any surplus funds that we have on the early end we'll use to cover any potential overages we'd have on the back end, so we can make sure we finish all projects within the bond authorization, the dollars allocated. But Dylan and our facilities team, along with our architects, have just done a tremendous job in making sure we stay true to our budgets and making sure we accomplish exactly what we told our voters we would accomplish as part of the bond program. And as you can see, we're well on our way with a 6-phase bond program, and the team has done a great job, and I'd just like to thank them for all their efforts and hard work to get us to this point, and will get us to the finish line when we complete phase 6. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Frankie Jackson. She's going to talk about technology next.
It's nice to stand up. Good evening, President Bengoya, Dr. Henry, members of the board, and Stuart Snow. I'm going to talk about our 2014 bond program and to give you an update of all that we've been working on since 2014. I think this slide is apropos in that a lot of the work that we've done has been in the infrastructure, has been underneath, and so there's many components that we've installed that teachers and students haven't seen because it's been underneath the infrastructure, and this is a good segue into Dr. Macias and Becky Cook to put the instructional technology components on top of it. So with that, I have some staff members here, and I'd like to introduce them very quickly. I think they're all in the back row. I don't know why technology people sit on the back row. So we've got, if y'all could just stand up, we've got Oscar Filler and Paula Ross. Oscar has been primarily, he's a lot of these people working underneath, and then Paula Ross is our director of infrastructure and communications. Oscar is our senior network engineer. And then we've got Kim Bolin, who's been working with E-Rate and technology procurement. Jennifer Miller, who works our customer care center, that's managed all the communications and performance excellence. And then Jay Johnson, who manages service. And of course, Bradley, who's here every board meeting, but he's a representative of a technology service person, and we appreciate him very much. Before I get started, I've never worked with a group of people that work any harder than these individuals, and it's very proud for me to stand up here and talk about the work that we've accomplished. Before I get started, I'll just say with Stuart Snow, thank you. Stuart has put a lot of trust in our team and has given us an unwavering amount of support to help us, motivate us, fund us, and keep us going throughout this project. So we have 6 projects. So the idea of how to figure out how to manage this Herculean task has been tremendous. And the way that we've done it, and we've been very successful at it, is we've simplified it. We've taken a very complex problem and made it very simple. So there's 6 what we call projects, 6 goals. This is how the bond was set up the night that you approved the $90 million for technology infrastructure. I think one of the secrets to our success has been that we post weekly updates for all of the work that we're completing, and that not only helps on the outside but on the inside because there's so many moving parts. It's not only about, in our business, implementing new technology. It's not as if we can put this operation on hold. We have to keep going, and so we're making these upgrades in flight. As of today, we're on our 138th day of uptime. So many of the upgrades that have been made during Christmas breaks, through the holidays, without experiencing a very much amount of downtime at all, if any. I'm going to go through each one. So there's 6 projects. I know we've had a long night, but we've done some tremendous work, and I want to take every opportunity to communicate that to you. The first is in the area of wireless, enterprise level wireless. If you'll remember in the 2014 bond, we had some goals, and goals were to provide up to 3 wireless devices connections per administrator and per high school students, and 2 for middle school, and then 1 for elementary school. And I remember the evening that Dr. Macias gave that presentation, she had one slide, and that slide was that every teacher, every student should be connected at all times, and they were going to be bringing more than one device. They might have a phone, they might have a tablet, they may also have a watch or wearable technology. So that's how we've designed our wireless infrastructure. It's secured, and it also provides visitor access. What a lot of people don't know, we've not really advertised it, is that we have 25% of our students, those parents of those 25% at each campus have access to a visitor network. After 2:30, from 2:30 to around 11:30, the access is free within the area of the school, and including outdoor access. So we're very proud of that. The outdoor wireless coverage is one means to provide connectivity to students that may not have connectivity. So we've chosen to break this down by grade level, and you'll see this in all the slides. So at the high school level, we're at 100%. Middle school, you can see the green, and we're at the support centers. So in installation altogether, it's over 8,500 wireless access points. There's a lot of work that went into that. You can see the pictures. We've had staff that have had to stand on forklifts and on ladders, even on the outside trying to get these units designed. And there are our wireless network connections, and you probably have seen those when you go into our facilities and see that you can connect to them. The beauty is that it does require, for example, with the district devices, authentication, which provides the security, and all of the access continues to move through our content filtering so that our students are safe while they're on the internet and accessing wireless resources. So we're very proud of that. I'm going to move to just one brief example to show you. This is before the 2014 bond, and this is just one of our high schools, and this is after the bond. And the red signifies how hot that wireless density is. And so you can see just with this one example at one of our high schools, the increase, the density is what that's called, to provide greater wireless access at our schools. We're very proud of that. We are in the process of tweaking it. It's just like anything. It's almost like a burn-in phase. So we certainly are in the position where if there are dead spots, that's what we call it, when there's not an extreme wireless signal, is that we go back in and move wireless access points around and increase the density and the connectivity so that we meet the expectations of our customers. I'm going to move a little bit faster. Project number 2 is our network electronics infrastructure, and you can see that we've installed over 2,000 of those devices, and those are basically high-speed devices. This is all done. This was part of an initiative that had to be done before we could put any of our wireless components in, finish that whole project, but also the voice over IP. So these are important components that's all in the network closets that we've implemented. Moving to project 3 is our connectivity and our power and air conditioning. We also have that broken down by grade levels. You can see that, for example, we'll go through each one. This primarily meant going into each of the facilities, into each of the network closets, and installing high-speed access for wireless connectivity. None of that wiring was available in any of our buildings. And so if we look at the high-speed cabling, we've installed over 8,000 drops. We are currently at the support centers. We're doing walkthroughs through here, and this is a primary initiative that we have scheduled for this spring, hoping to have as much completed, hopefully at 100% before we start school. All of our dual fiber internet connections, we're at 100%, and the dual fiber campus feed coverage, I'm going to switch to this view. You can see that we are working to have a fully redundant network. So you're going to see, I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. Under your action item 6A1, it's the RFP 1701-5080, it's dark fiber. It would be to take all that you see in red and make that at 100%, which is closing up what we call all the lateral lines with exposure. So here's one small example. This is Cy Ranch, and you can see that we've got 290, and then we've got Fry Road running out to Cy Ranch, and there's a total of 4.3 miles that are exposed. If there is a fiber cut along that line, then that's going to knock out Warner, and Smith. And so part of our design includes to get at a complete 100% of dual connectivity to every one of our campus feeds. We have a total of 147 miles of exposed lines throughout our district. So that's what that 6A1 is that you'll see later on this evening. In our next project, under Project 4, I'm sorry, this is actually 3.2. This is the data centers with the internet connectivity. You'll remember that we came to you and asked for dual connections to the internet. All of our campuses do have dual connections to the internet. This would be 6A5. This is RFP 1612-5047. This is for internet service. And what we're looking to do is to move from ICTX to another service provider that's in your RFP that we're looking to award. So that's that connection right there. We're looking to upgrade that connection from 6 gig to 8 gig. And you can see that little graph that shows the bandwidth that we've increased over time, that you have so graciously provided us the opportunity and the funding. So for example, when I started here in August of 2013, we only had 1.2. Now we're at 12, and we're looking to go to 16 and burstable to 20 to 40, depending on what the need is. And so all of the components that Matt Morgan and his staff talked about, and everything that Mr. Sprague talked about, all hinges upon the network infrastructure and making certain that it runs. The 6A6 that you have on your list is RFP 1612-5049. That's the internet gateway. And basically what that is a high-speed routing switch that serves almost as if a heart to the entire network. It determines, just like a GPS, the shortest route to get out to the internet, and if one fails, it automatically fails over. And so we have had many instances where this is picked up and occurred, and none of our users even know that we've had an outage, because it knows how to swap the traffic. It's like a train exchange system, and find a new path. We're looking to replace that switch that will service our district through the year 2020. I think the projected date is through 2021. Very high-speed switch, so we'll be addressing that later on as well. We are looking to build across the nation the largest, what we refer to as smart education network by design. It's a blueprint, a national blueprint. We started with this goal in mind, to be completely SIND compliant, the largest one in the entire nation. So it's another example of how our district excels, and one of the reasons that we're so proud. Moving to 4, huge accomplishment here. When we had only one data center. We had Belial, but it certainly needed to be upgraded. Just as we brought to you last year, we have now completed, I think it was actually 2 years ago, our Tier 2 facility, which is at Belial, Tier 3, which is here in our ISC data center, and then Tier 4, which is at our co-location facility at Cyrus 1. It's completely up and running. You can see the major items that we've completed with our internet second point of presence, all the way down to our virtualized data center and infrastructure with data backup, data center monitoring, firewalls, and virus protection. And we still have some work to do. Some data migration. Our storage area network is up. Disaster recovery, data auditing, moving our mission-critical systems over to our co-location facility, looking to set up a private cloud so that the instructional technology department will have the resources that they need to satisfy their educational goals, and then looking for ways to become more efficient and provide greater automation. We're now at Project 5. We have one more to go. In Project 5, this included replacing our telephone system, as well as all of our devices and printers, network printers. There's our status. We are right in the middle of our voice over IP phone system upgrade. The good news is the high schools are done. The great news is middle schools are almost done. We have some alternative schools to do. and our support systems, we're moving through those. Our goal is to be off of the old AT&T phone system by July 1. That's when our budget year starts, and that's the goal that we have in mind. We have to be extremely careful. We can't afford to make a mistake. Every campus has to be up. And so one of our challenges has been to move very carefully to make sure that we sustain 100% connectivity and communications. We came to you last February and requested to implement an enterprise desktop management solution, which is LANDesk. That was all completed this summer. That's done. Over 70,000 devices are now managed through our enterprise desktop management solution. The administrative devices and the network printers are on a 5-year rotation cycle, so we won't be at 100% until the very end of the bond because we replace those when needed. This is the last slide related to projects. This is the technology infrastructure in the new schools. This is where we had in our bond the 2 new schools, 2 middle schools, and 5 elementary schools. But just as you heard Mr. Sprague talk, we have numerous renovation campuses. All of those lists of phase 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, all those campuses, every one of them require renovation of wireless access points, network electronics, cabling, UPSs, which you will find in your board to approve later on as 6A10, which is RFP 1701-5079, which is the technology, construction, and renovation. So any of those items, as we move through the renovation, also require on the back end a lot of work by our team to make certain that the connectivity is sustained and all the tools are available in the renovated campuses just like they are in the newly constructed campuses. So with that, this is where we are. We're working with a total of over $90 million. Expenditures to date are a little over $65 million, and so we have a balance. We've been successful with E-rate. This is what we have received as confirmation from the federal government as our refund for 2015 and 2016. We anticipate that it'll be even higher than this because everything that we apply for, including the 6A1 that you see, that you will see later on this evening, is all E-rateable. So our cost for that $7.2 million could be drastically reduced with E-rate funding to support it. And I imagine you'll have questions about that later on, and if so, I can answer those. So that's the end of my presentation. I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Macias unless there's any questions.
Good evening, President Mangoya, board members, and Dr. Hendry, and I'm going to have to say Mr. Snow also. Sorry. I am excited to share with you where we're at with our instructional technology. You'll see before you 3 important areas, and I list these because the first 2 are extremely critical for us to begin rolling out the instructional tools to the campuses. That infrastructure and upgrades that Frankie talked about, the improved high-speed wireless and internet access, critical, because if we didn't wait for that to happen, and I might say patiently wait for that to happen, then our schools, our teachers and principals would still be talking about the spinning cycle of death that they kept seeing over and over again. Before I continue with my part of the presentation, I would like to acknowledge Becky Cook. Becky, stand up for a second. Becky is our Director for Instructional Technology. And she is the one that is responsible for developing and implementing the rollout plan for about 8,000 classrooms throughout the district, as well as flex spaces and other areas that we're going to be outfitting with the instructional technology. So that's quite a chore. So Becky, I want to thank you for all the work that you've done. And she's actually entrusted me to do this presentation. So what you have before you is our standard technology setup plan for the classrooms. And so you'll see with the chart, it lists the devices that will be in every classroom. And I'll talk about each device in just a second. But it's the Promethean board, the Lightspeed sound enhancement, the hover camps, the tablets or Chromebooks and the teacher computers. And the second column tells you how many classrooms we've outfitted so far. And then that third column tells you the curriculum areas for each of those devices. And then that last column tells you the percent complete. So where are we as far as meeting our goal for all of our classrooms throughout the district? The first item I'd like to talk about is Promethean panels. And if you all have walked through our campuses, and so you've seen these awesome Promethean panels that we're purchasing for our classrooms. And they are following the replacement cycle that we do for our computer devices. And I'll share that as we were working on a plan for what devices to purchase for the schools and what to use, we didn't just do it alone. We sought teacher input to make sure that we were going to meet the needs of the teachers and the coordinators as well, the content coordinators, to make sure that the devices we were purchasing for the classrooms were actually going to meet the needs of the different content areas. The Promethean boards actually have a longer lifespan than others that we actually saw. Here's an example of one being used for math. And they're actually also cost savings as far as energy. They're energy efficient. And they don't require a bulb, which is, believe it or not, they're very, very expensive. So there's some cost savings with going with the Promethean boards. It also has some software that comes with it that really promotes collaboration and student conversations while the learning is taking place. The second item up there is the light speed sound enhancement. And as you've walked through our classrooms, you may have noticed our teachers wearing like a speaker, a little speaker. And so that's actually the speaker for the system. So the teacher can talk at a very normal, calm voice, but the sound is more clear and enhanced for our students. The system also has different types of, I call them different kinds of cats. There's a top cat and there's a flex cat. And the top cat, if you looked up in the ceiling, you saw a speaker system. And so that's kind of the main device for the Lightspeed enhancement system. And the teacher has a clicker. So you might have seen a clicker as you walked around. There are also four devices called flex cats. You can see them right there. There's a classroom. That little black device there is the flex cat. And that flex cat actually allows the teacher to check in on the kids. So she's got this remote control and she can press the remote control. Kids can be working on the flex spaces and she's actually listening. He or she's listening to the conversations that are going on. And if the kids have a question, there's a button there that they press and it lights up on the teacher's remote. And so she's able to answer their questions. And if there's a great conversation that she just wants to share with the entire class, she can also, again, at the touch of her remote, press a button, and that Top Cat system, that speaker, projects the conversation that's happening outside of the classroom. So it's a great opportunity to continue building on collaborative learning and kids actually having opportunities to learn in different spaces throughout the school. The next item that you see there is the hover cams. Some of you may remember the old overhead projectors, those big old box projectors, and they projected up on the screen. It took two light bulbs, one actually on the bottom, one on the top. And I have some nightmares of using the overhead projectors where they would just kind of go out. Christine, you may have had those experiences. They just would kind of go out, and it was very expensive to purchase those bulbs that went in there. So in fact, they would sit in the corner many times for weeks, waiting for them to come in, or they would just pile up in the library. So the hover cam is actually the replacement for this. It's a document camera, but on steroids. So it still projects paper a paper that you have there up on the Promethean panel, but it's more than that. It's a camera. It can video and audio tape. And so if you imagine that the teacher is delivering a lesson and little Marnie is out, she could be audio recording the lesson. She could be audio recording the lesson or parts of the lesson, and then have it available for Marnie. So she could see that, or we could place it on the teacher's website for tutoring. We had a parent the other day that said it's not just for the student, but it's for me as a parent, so I can help the child. So there's a lot of different opportunities. They can actually be connecting to another classroom through the hovercam as well. So it really is much more than just a document camera. And you can, if you look at here at this picture, right in the middle of the three girls, that's it. It looks like a little rod sticking out. That's how small it is. Next, the next item that's out there is the Chromebooks and the laptops. And at the elementary grade, students are right now, these are being delivered in the English language arts classrooms, the math and the science. And you may be asking, well, how did y'all decide where to start? Well, we started with the contents that had the oldest devices. And so that's how we started rolling out these different devices. At the elementary, there are 7, so there'll be 7 Chromebooks actually in each of the classrooms. And these Chromebooks they're easy to use, and they have a much faster login time, so they actually come up quite a bit faster. At the secondary, for middle school English language arts and middle school and high school low classes, they're also receiving Chromebooks, and there's 8 per class in those classes. And the science and math at secondary selected to buy a hybrid notebook, so it's a notebook and a tablet. So it's a computer and a tablet both at the same time. And then finally you can see our kids there using them. Finally the teachers also received a hybrid tablet. So again, they can take their tablet, they can flip it, they can be walking around the classroom, taking notes of how little Dawn is doing, or what areas we need to be working with little Dawn, or behavior for little Dawn. So it's right there for the teachers to take notes. Can even send an email to the students' parents right there on the spot. And we're even piloting right now, one of our schools, a device that goes behind the Promethean board that actually makes the Promethean board wireless. So the teacher can be on that side of the room and can be accessing and manipulating the Promethean board while working with another student. So great technology opportunities for our kids to enhance that learning in the classroom. We also have mobile devices known as COWs. And so at the elementary level, there will be 3 carts of 20 Chromebooks and 2 carts of 20 window laptops. So if you do the math there are 100 more devices that can be used in the classrooms to supplement what's already in the classroom. So a lot more for students to be able to use there. For the elementary levels, most of it is already out there. We still have a little to also pull out there, but most already out there. And for the secondary cows, we'll begin rolling out in 2017 and 18. And you can see there's some pictures of our kids using the cows. If you look at this chart, you'll see actually one of the few where you have a 0% completed. And that's our upgrade for the high school lab, CTE, the U.S. history classrooms. And the reason for that is because those are some of the newest computers that we purchased. So they're actually on the back end of our replacement cycle. The library technology, you see a 0% there, and that's all in the planning, because when we worked on the devices for the libraries as part of the bond package, and then started looking at purchasing them, they were already obsolete. So they're back to the drawing board, looking and seeing what it is that they'd like to use for the libraries. And then you can see that for our special programs, whether it's the ALCs or Carleton or Winfern, those classrooms have the same setups as any other classroom in the district. This chart just shows the technology that we purchased for some of our newer schools, for Woodard and Cypress Park, which were also as part of this bond package for the technology. And so they've had all their devices that they've needed for year one. And you can see that even for year two, which is next year, for Cy Park, we've already started purchasing devices. We just want to make sure that when school starts, they have the devices that they need. And then finally, my last slide is upgrading the technology lab. We have a couple of technology labs in the West Building, and those are used to train teachers. So we are outfitting those labs with the actual devices that are in the classroom. So when teachers come to training, they're being trained with what they have back in the classroom. That's going to really allow them to truly go back and implement the training that we've received. When we look at our budget for instructional technology, we are below budget right now, and actually the price points for many of these devices is coming down. So we feel that we're going to be able to add even more to the classrooms with the budget that we have in place. I will now turn the presentation over to Stuart Snow.
Thank you. I'm going to follow up the previous presentations to show you kind of how we have financed all of those projects. Next slide, please, yeah. Although this bond update is specific to the 2014 bond projects by the 2014 bond election, I think that a very brief discussion of the status of the two previous bond authorizations is relevant, since that discussion and those bond authorizations have an impact on our tax rate projections that I will show you on our last slide. The 2004 bond authorization totaling $713,200,000. At the time of our May 2014 bond election, that bond authorization had a balance of $35,840,500. In November of 2014, actually, we have been pricing those bonds in the market in October, and then closing on those transactions in the following month in November. And so in November 2014, we did close on a $330 million new money bond sale that included amounts from the 2004, 2007, and the 2014 voter authorizations. We closed out the 2004 authorization by selling the remaining balance of that authorization of $35,840,500. The 2007 bond authorization in November of 2007 for a total of $807 million. At the time of the May 2014 election, that bond authorization had a balance of $211,190,000. Since that time, we have sold that balance, the entire balance, over three bond sales. The 2015 bond sale in November was a $310 million new money bond sale that included that $72 million of the 2007 bond authorization, leaving a balance at that time of $18,030,000. And then in November of 2006, that bond sale was a $270 million new money sale that included that $18 million. So we were able to close out the 2007 bond authorization with that sale. The 2014 bond authorization in May of 2014 for a total amount of $209,280,000. We have had, as I mentioned, we've had three bond issues that have included amounts from that 2014 authorization. $172,999,500 that was sold in November of 2014. $238 million that was sold in 2015 in November, and then in November 2016 we sold another $251,970,000 from that bond authorization. So the total of those sales from that authorization just short of $663 million, or about 55% of the total $1.2 billion. We structure each bond sale and the related debt service to match the principal amount needed for each project type and the bond maturities with the estimated useful life of the assets in which we use for the proceeds of those bond sales. In other words, we front load the payment of principal in each of those bond sales to equal the amount, the estimated amount of the estimated useful life of those specific assets, so that those assets that we are acquiring or through the proceeds, so that we're not paying over a period of time the principal of that debt at a period of time greater than the estimated useful life of those assets. For instance, on facilities, that's the construction of our facilities, the renovation of our facilities. We've assigned a maturity of the principal of those bond sales to be 25 years. Certainly, those facilities have a life greater than 25 years, 30 and 40 and 50 years, but we don't want to pay for those in terms of principal debt over a period of greater than 25 years. For instructional technology, certainly a very short life asset, includes all of the classroom and administrative equipment and devices that Dr. Macias just talked about. We've assigned an estimated useful life of those assets of 5 years, and so we will pay for the amounts that we sell within those bond sales early on with a maturity of 5 years for those assets. The infrastructure technology, a little bit longer estimated useful life. We've assigned 10 years, and that's all of the equipment that Frankie was presenting to you, which include controllers and routers and cabling and load balancers and the internet access points and those types of things. And so, again, we would front load the payment of the principal on the assets that we purchase with that over a period of 10 years. And then, as Mr. Sprague mentioned early on in his presentation, the buses that we acquire, we assign a useful life for those buses of 15 years. This last slide is a comparison of the projected tax rate that we determined and communicated to our community in connection with the 2014 bond election. It compares that with the actual tax rate that we've levied. That projected tax rate is the tax rate necessary to service the principal and interest of not only the $1.2 billion in the 2014 bond authorization, but also the remaining balances in those 2004 and 2007 bond authorizations. And so at the time of that May 2014 authorization or election, again, as I mentioned earlier, for the 2004 authorization, there remained a balance of $35,840,500. For the 2007, there remained a balance of $211,190,000 for a total for those two authorizations of $247,030,500. And so when you add that to the $1.2 billion, we actually had $1.456 billion that we were going to sell over that 6-year period of time. And so the projected tax rate, again, is what we projected to be and communicated to our community that would be a worst-case maximum increase over the 6-year period of time for that 2014 bond program. And that increase was 4.5 cent increase in the debt service tax rate. In 2013-14, our tax rate was 41 cents, And at the time that and that was at the tail end, that fiscal year 2013-14 was at the tail end of our fiscal year of that year in May. And so in 2014-15, we adopted the 2014 tax rate in September of 2014. And so the first bond sale of that fiscal year was actually, we priced that 1 month later in October and then closed on that sale in November. And so that tax rate for 2014 was again 41 cents. But then as you can see, following up with that, the 2015 adopted tax rate, we dropped that tax rate, that actual tax rate, and reduced that by a penny. So we're at 40 cents there, and continued to adopt a 40-cent tax rate for the 2016 tax rate. We will be adopting the 2017 tax rate in September after we receive the certified tax rolls from the Harris County Appraisal District, but we're anticipating that, again, we would adopt a 40-cent tax rate remaining unchanged. So currently, in the current fiscal year, 2016-17, right now we are 3 3/4 pennies below the projection that we communicated to our community. And so if we levy the anticipated tax rate in this coming September of 40 cents, then we will certainly be 5.5 cents below what we had communicated at that point in time in May of 2014. So of that $1.456 billion total that we had to spend, we've sold about 62% of that, $910 million, with a 1 penny reduction in that tax rate. So if the projections that we have made 4 years ago come true, hold true, it is very possible that we will be able to sell all of the bonds of the 2014 authorization, as well as the 2004 and 2007 balances in those authorizations, totaling the $1.456 billion, with a debt service tax rate that is 1 cent lower than what it was when we started back in 2013-14, rather than an increase of 4.5 cents. So with that, I think that completes our presentation. We would be very pleased to answer any questions that you may have.
Again, that was very impressive presentation. We appreciate so much all the things that are being done. I happened to be at Cypress Park a couple of months ago and saw the Lightspeed sound system, and one of the teachers told me that instead of going home tired because just she had to talk louder and move around more, etc., that she goes home refreshed, and she can't believe the difference that technology makes in her classroom and the way she feels. So I think it's very impressive, and certainly the infrastructure is amazing. Frankie, we don't want to, not act like that doesn't make the whole core of it amazing. Now I'd like to start with any comments or questions.
I'd just like to comment that as part of that 2014 bond committee, it certainly is exciting to see how the bond dollars are working and all the things that are being accomplished, and that what we promised the taxpayers we would do with that money is being done. And I remember at the time, Stuart, that we talked that you thought it would be cheaper, but we didn't want to put that out, and then maybe that would not be the case. And I think the district has been very fiscally responsible with the money, and we definitely, I think it's attributable to the fine people that we have leading these projects and accounting for the money, and all of the vision that came from that 2014 bond. And just it's a wonderful job, and it's great for our students and our community. Thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank you, Ms. Blackshear. Any other comments, Christine?
And I do want to start with echoing what you said. Darcy, about the microphones, the lanyard microphones. They do make such a difference in the classroom. Over the past 2 weeks, I've spent about 12 hours observing in a lot of our classrooms, and I've seen these things in action, and it's so it's so exciting. I love the idea of the wireless control to the Promethean board, because I've seen teachers have to, okay, just a second, go click, go back, you know, and then that might make it where one student gets off track at that moment. That would be a great thing. I'm glad that we're piloting that and looking at that. But what I saw today in one of the second grade classrooms was how technology is helping reading fluency, how it can help these students. I saw a student on a laptop read a book to themselves. It recorded it. It's on a site called Seesaw. And then it saved it into almost like a little Google Docs folder. And then they could access each other, watch each other, leave comments. You did a really great job, work on all their fluency. And it's just, this is the future. This is the future of education, technology. Our infrastructure is so important because we want all of our students to be able to access these great things. And I'm very proud of this district for focusing on this, because not all of our schools have PTOs that can raise thousands and thousands of dollars. We need to provide this for our students, not just the PTOs. So I just want to say thank you. It's really exciting to see what we're doing, and I know it's going to help a lot of students gain their academic achievement, and thank you for making this such a focus. So.
Thank you, Ms. Hartley. Mr. Jackson?
Couple of comments and then some questions. You know, perhaps the easiest piece of the instructional technology is the light speed. I was able to use that again this morning, and I've used it several times in classrooms last fall, but also last year. And I've given presentations now in 3 different districts, and I'm proud to say that Cy-Fair is leading the other districts, whereas as recently as 6 years ago, we lagged because we didn't have the financial capability. So to make that tremendous increase in just a relatively short period of time is a tremendous salute to everybody involved, and this is no minor undertaking. I would also ask, because I didn't see it, Linda, you talked about creating artifacts. Do we have the software available yet that can capture the artifacts where parents can then go online to see the artifacts? And for the benefit of some in the viewing audience, what I mean by artifacts, that's where, as Christine pointed out, you capture how a child is reading, or you can capture collaboration among students, or how an individual student happens to be performing, even say musical instruments. Those are all available with the technology you described. And is it in the future plans that we can then build a file of these artifacts that a parent can actually look in on their child, certainly not in real time, but say a few days later to see what their child is actually doing?
I actually don't know the answer to that. Frankie, can you help me with that question?
But you don't have your light speed with you.
No, I need my light speed, yeah. I think I would like to answer that question by saying, you know, anything's possible with the vision that we have with our technology infrastructure. If you go back to the bond goal 4, which is the 3 data centers, the Tier 4 facility, I mentioned that we were building a private cloud in hopes to be able to satisfy any proposed idea that instructional technology might have for, I didn't call them artifacts, but to contain electronic portfolios or any items that we would consider private to our students that we would want to be able to maintain over a period of time, which could potentially include artifacts. I think that's a great idea.
Well, and I'm not proposing that we should do it. I was merely asking, is that part of y'all's vision going forth? And what you're saying is, it can be, if on the curriculum side, a need is seen.
Right. I think that was our vision all along, was to create a platform that we could satisfy any fathomable, instructional technology component that might be needed in the future.
And Mr. Duncan, the electronic portfolios, that is something that actually Becky Cook has been investigating to see how we can train our teachers and how to develop them, and then have them available on a site for parents to access.
And that concept's not only is it very cutting edge, it's not quite here yet, but what you're saying is y'all have designed a system where if the district wants to go in that direction, if there's efficacy in going in that direction, we have the ability to do so.
That would be our proposal.
And along that line, as long as you're at the microphone, I've always been sensitive to our bandwidth capacity, and I think I heard some magic words tonight from you that not only have we tremendously increased the bandwidth, we are providing for bandwidth burst.
Yes.
It is my observation that as instructional technology takes hold, when technology works, people don't want less of it, they want more. And what they start with, once they find that it works, they want to keep building on it, meaning they're going to gobble up more and more of the bandwidth.
That's right.
And as we spread these devices throughout all the schools, then everybody's going to revel in the availability. Are you still comfortable that 3 years out, because it'll probably take that long for instructional technology to take hold, maybe 4, that we will have sufficient bandwidth 3 and 4 years out when that demand starts to grab?
Well, and as a matter of fact, what we had hoped to see in these RFPs was something called internet peering, which would be like a direct highway to, say, Office 365 or to Google Applications for Education, so that it would be almost like the 99 Beltway, so that you wouldn't have to put up with all the other traffic and all the other lanes. I think that's something that we'll certainly be looking at in the future, but even without that, we're proposing in tonight's responses for requesting approval for the RFPs to put the type of equipment into our infrastructure that will take us to the level where we can scale, and we call that burst into larger avenues of getting to greater bandwidth.
Excellent, thank you. And that clearly answers the concerns I had when we were, as a board, when we were vetting the bond proposal as to whether or not it was appropriate and adequate to send it out to our voters to vote on. Certainly in technology, I was concerned in that area, and I think you all have answered in a marvelous fashion on what is, from a technical implementation standpoint, as Frankie said, Herculean, and I don't diminish that in any fashion. I do have an unfair question for you, Roy, and I apologize I didn't ask you beforehand, but I get tired. Perhaps on Monday, I'd like to know how we have reduced our average life of our bus fleet. When the bond proposal was here, our bus fleet average life was just about dead. And also, have we been able to increase the life of our engines in the buses? That was a topic that we discussed a couple of years ago. There was the engine manufacturers were changing, and we weren't quite having the quality that we used to have. So if you could address those, if not tonight, then perhaps on Monday.
We can go ahead and address it. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we have such an excellent transportation department, and the maintenance provisions we have designed into our program have just been phenomenal. And Matt and the transportation team have done a phenomenal job of trying to make sure we maintain our buses and have the proper equipment in order for them to do that internally, and doing our own body work and doing oil changes, everything. And by doing those regular routine and preventive maintenance, requirements by the manufacturer of our buses, we are able to maintain our buses for a longer life. In terms of the engines, Matt, you may want to talk about the engines in more specific if you have info on that.
I don't have information specific to the engines, but as far as the life of the bus fleet, we're now 8.6 years. That's our average bus.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have one more large purchase coming probably next month, so it'll be even a little bit lower. So everything we said about getting the buses under that 15-year window, we've been very aggressive about that.
Very good, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Roy, a follow-up question for you. You mentioned that we were coming in with actual building cost quite a bit less than projected, and of course there's a couple of reasons for that. One is the projection number is very good, and two, from a bid perspective, as well as cost control, as well as inflation, we're able to manage those costs better. The hidden underbelly of a fast growth school district is that of inflation, because when the district is fast growth, everybody around them is fast growth, so you have tremendous demand both for labor as well as materials. Are you seeing the inflation rate starting to abate, or is it still fairly robust?
The inflation rate is still there, but it's lower than what it was originally projected. We just recently attended an AGC meeting, and they were doing their typical projections that they do annually for 2017, and I believe they were in the 5 to 6% range. But the fact of some of the processes and what our facilities team does on a day in and day out basis, we make decisions very quickly so contractors can get the information they need in order to keep the schedule, which allows them to get paid quickly and to be able to perform. So we have a greater interest of contractors wanting to work for Cypher ISD than other districts, and we certainly believe there's a cost factor that we get the benefit of as a result of those efforts. And Dylan and the team have done a great job in maintaining and improving those relationships with general contractors, and it's really helped quite a bit. And actually, we're kind of seeing a stabilization on most projects. We've had a few projects that the costs were a little bit higher, but we've had several projects that came in substantially under our projected cost to where we're at 10.1 million projection that we have right now, and we hope that continues with the pricing and the continued interest in our district and our projects that we have.
Excellent, but I also clearly heard your word of caution. Merely because you have feathered us to this point doesn't mean that is going to continue, but at least you have a little cushion going forth to address those situations. You indicated that we're continuing to activate and implement card readers. Is that going to start eliminating the need for keys being held by a large number of teachers and reducing it to a smaller number of individuals, or not?
It can certainly reduce the number of keys, but not every single exterior door has a card reader device. So this will be a combination of cards as well as keys. And the campuses make those decisions as to who at the campus level gets keys.
And I would also say, Linda, thank you for talking about the training facility that you set up. That was Kevin Hoffman's question from a few years ago. So if I have time, I'll send him a little text saying, Kevin, you got your question answered in fine shape. Excellent presentation, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Any further questions, comments? Well, we do very much appreciate the report. It's excellent. I'm very proud of everything that we do here. Now, because we are getting a little late tonight, I'm going to ask those people if they need to leave that were here for those presentations, and we're going to move discussion up at this time because I know we have a large group of people here for discussion. All right, the board will have a discussion on the following item. The board will discuss the possibility and benefits of relocating the Winfern School of Choice to the current Matsky Elementary site. I believe Dr. Henry is going to start that presentation. Dr. Macias and Roy Sprague will also contribute.
Thank you.
Wake them up.
Yeah.
They're good. All right.
They hung in there. They learned a lot tonight. Thank you, Madam President and trustees. Of course, with the new Matskey opening up this fall that made the current Matskey facility available for some use, and the administrative team and leadership team has taken a look at how best we can utilize that space and have a positive impact on the most students possible. And we would have a little presentation for you tonight of an idea that we have, and as you can see, it is just a discussion item, but we'd like to present that to you this evening and of course get questions and feedback from you. So Linda, are you starting first?
I am.
And I'm turning it over to Dr. Macias.
As Dr. Henry shared, we'd like to visit with you about the opportunity to increase the number of programs offered at our Winfern School of Choice by relocating Winfern to the current Matskey once we move Matskey to its new site. I put this map up here because I wanted you to see that we're looking at keeping Winfern School of Choice basically in the same general location. In fact, it's about 3 miles, I would say, it is right around 3 miles, I believe, from the current site to where the current Matskey is located. Before I share any additional information, I'd like to recognize the team that's been spearheading this project and looking at these opportunities. First of all, Martha Struther, our principal at Winfern, Martha Stan, our principal at Winfern School of Choice, and some of her team is there as well, so I appreciate them being here. And Mary Jaloski, where's Mary? Mary? From our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction. And Dan Groves will be here from our Facilities Department, has been just working with us diligently, and he's been very, very patient with us. I want to thank you for that, Dan. We're not looking at changing the culture of Winfern School of Choice. Martha has kept us on track with that and making sure that vision and that mission continues, and that Winfern continues to be a choice for students who seek an alternative learning environment to our large comprehensive high schools. As you know from listening to speeches at the Winfern graduations, students choose to attend the Winfern School of Choice for a variety of different reasons. And so if the program is relocated, students will continue to be able to catch up on credits, earn additional credits, have the opportunity to graduate early, opportunities for original credit and online recovery as well will continue to be there. And then we'll continue with our newest program, which is our 9th grade overage program. Martha and her team have done a great job with this program, and it's just a reminder. It's a program for students who are 9th grade students who are significantly older than their 9th grade peers and have great deficits in their credits. And if they continue as 9th graders, which they basically have been 9th grade for a couple of years, if they continue on this path, they would be in danger of dropping out of school because they would be aging out of being able to attend public school. So they've done a great job in taking overage 9th graders from across all of our high schools and working with them and getting them caught up and getting them on track. We also would continue the child care opportunities for our teen parents so that they would be able to attend school. As I said, the team has been working for probably this past year and brainstorming and visiting with Martha and the CT team to see what are some opportunities that we can provide at Winfern School of Choice for the students that are there, but also other students that we might bring from other campuses, and also evening opportunities. Dan very graciously took us on a tour of Matskey with Martha and probably her team that's back here, so that they could see some possibilities that are out there and if this would even work at the Matskey site. And then Dan and Mary Jaloski also toured the current Matskey site with the CTE group, so that we could also get their input on possible programs that we could add or enhance if we were able to move to the old Matskey site. An area that we know that we need to continue to work on for our Winfern students is the opportunity for them to earn endorsements and also CTE certifications. So we already offer some CTE courses in some of these areas, but we know we need to enhance some of those offerings. The cafeteria that's available at Matsky provides the opportunity to possibly offer a culinary lab, arts lab, and culinary classes as well. As Martha shared with us, it also provides an opportunity for us to have Wynford be a closed campus so that kids would stay on campus during lunch and we wouldn't lose them after lunch for a variety of different reasons, or they wouldn't get back to school late. We've talked about looking at different trades to be able to offer at the Wynford School of Choice if we're able to move it to Wynford. And again, these are just some opportunities that we're going to be researching and evaluating. But we know that the trades can provide our students with an immediate skilled job with a great salary once they leave high school. So we certainly want to look at these possibilities. Some of the trades that we're investigating and the CTE team felt that were opportunities there were welding and electrical and plumbing and HVAC. All great needs and great opportunities for our kids. Again, these courses could be offered for our kids that are there at Wynford. We could actually bring kids from some of the other high schools. We actually offer welding. The others we don't at some of our sites, but we don't have enough spaces for them. So we could actually do some of that as well. And then we could offer these courses in the evenings as well. So for kids that already have a packed curriculum or a packed schedule, whether they're at Wynford or anywhere else, we could actually offer these classes and these courses and opportunities for certifications in the evenings at the Wynford School of Choice site. But we can't do it at the current site. The space isn't there. We would have to have a larger space like the Matsky site that will become available. Other possible programs that we've talked about, I just shared with you our overage 9th grade program. We also have the same concern at 8th grade. We have kids who are overage at 8th grade. So we've talked about the possibility of having a transition to high school. And so these would be kids who are 8th graders, but that are much older than your typical 8th grader, and helping them start transitioning to high school and also earning some credits. We are in desperate, I should say 5th up there. We're in desperate need of another new arrival center at high school. If you toured our centers, you know that they're busting at the seam. So there could be another possibility that we have another new arrival center there. And certainly an opportunity to continue expanding our due credit opportunities for kids throughout the district as well. Roy, I'll turn it over to you.
See us. As part of the analysis, as Linda's mentioned, Dan's been working very closely with Linda and her team, and Matsky looks to be the perfect solution to help expand this program. The existing Matsky is approximately 75,000 square feet, and our existing Wynford High School complex with the current programs is about 50,000 square feet. So it's a perfect marriage, and it gives us additional room to grow and help support these additional possibilities that Linda has mentioned in her presentation and allow us to expand as time goes on to accommodate a full-fledged program. Currently in our bond program, if you recall, we have roughly $12.1 million of bond funds authorized to address the repurposing of Matsky. And we've been looking at various what options we could have. And this option with the Wynford complex moving over here really makes the best sense. We have an existing cafeteria, we have an existing gymnasium. It just makes it a perfect fit to allow this program to move and to expand. The photograph we have up here is basically just an overview site plan. You see the hashed areas. We think we can renovate the entire building to accommodate most of the programs, as we're going to refer to it as phase one, to implement this vision into reality for Linda and her team by renovating the gym as well as the main building, which would include the first and second floor, and accommodate most of the programs. If you look at the next phase two, what we based on all the programmatic areas to include those additional labs that Linda mentioned for welding and the trades programs out there, we anticipate we'll probably need to come in at a future date and add about a 7,200 square foot addition to the building. And as you can see in the drawing we have here, we could do an addition just to the west of the existing gymnasium over there. And then we'd also have to come in and add, probably supplement with some additional parking. And then Harris County Flood Control will require us to do some detention because we're adding impervious area to the site. And so we're making provisions that we can do on-site detention to address those needs. Joel, can you go back to the last slide, the previous slide? The other thing I wanted to point out on the site plan, no, the previous one to that, please. There you go, where it shows the portable buildings. There. The portable buildings that exist on the campus, we have 6 portables now. Our part of our program would be to allow those portables to stay on site, which will allow us to implement various programs while we're trying to get additional funds available, maybe through a future bond, for the Phase 2 component to come in and add on to the complex. So that would give the campus lots of flexibility to work with not only the existing footprint as we renovate it, but also be able to utilize the 6 existing portable buildings. You know, once we started construction on the new addition, we'd probably have to move those portables to the new parking area. So we'd probably do the parking first, move the portables there, then start construction on the addition in the detention area to allow and help facilitate the program through construction on that Phase 2. In working with PBK Architects, they've done some preliminary scoping and budgeting for us as part of this Phase 2 and Phase 1. And we feel comfortable, as I mentioned, we can accommodate the Phase 1 within the current funds we have available. But the Phase 2, we are estimating that cost to be roughly about $9.9 million to construct that addition. In total project costs. And we feel that would be doable as a future phase. And then one thing we can look at is, depending on dollars available as we get to the end of the bond program we're currently in, if there are surplus funds available, we could certainly consider looking at using those funds to help construct the Phase 2 component for the project. The next slides we have just a real conceptual floor plan of taking all the programmatic information that Linda and her team have presented to facilities, and Dan's work with PBK just to kind of map out what that could look like within this building. There's really no rhyme or reason to this. It's just based on the input we have, but we can fit the majority of the program in this building on the future needs. And then, as I mentioned, we would need to look at doing the addition to cover basically those welding labs, the HVAC, and the other trade programs as part of Phase 2. And if we move forward with this, and based on input we received with you guys tonight, we can take that information and start incorporating that into our schematic design phase. And our ultimate goal would be to move forward with the design phase and the construction document phase, look at getting a contract award at our November 2017 board meeting, and start construction right away to where we could have this facility ready for the 2018-2019 school year. So pretty much that ends our presentation, and Linda and I and the rest of our teams in the audience will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ryan?
On, I don't know who would answer, maybe Linda, maybe Martha. So, hey, Martha, do y'all have to turn back students each year, and if so, approximately? You
have to come to the microphone.
Microphone, Mark.
You can yell at me. I'm gonna go with that.
Well, I just don't
you
know
want
if the
TV?
audience at home could hear. Do you mind coming to the
Both
microphone,
still not
Martha?
listening.
Sorry about that, Martha. Blame Mr. Ryan.
Sorry.
Really, the main reason we've had to turn kids back in the past has been because they didn't have enough credits to be entered. Up until this year, and we're very glad that we made this change, but up until this year, it was really a school exclusively for 11th and 12th graders, and you had to have at least 12 credits. Well, as we all know, those kids that are stuck in a freshman status, and they're turning into 17 and 18-year-olds, and every year they get more and more demoralized because they're not earning any credits. Those are the kids that are most at risk. Now we're able to take those kids with 0 credits. And what we do is we kind of take them at any point during the school year because they're already enrolled. They stay enrolled at their home campus. And we take them, and what we do is, if it's not the beginning of a semester, we take them and they start working in our digital credit recovery lab. And we earn as many credits as possible. Then when the new semester starts, then we enter into teacher-guided classrooms. But yes, we've had to send kids back for, we've not been able to enter them at all because they just didn't have those 12 credits. So this has been a really new and exciting possibility for us to take kids that are without hope. Quite honestly, they're without hope. Parents are desperate. What can I do for my child? He refuses to go to school. He's embarrassed to be in classes with freshmen. He's already 17. He's 18. And they're not knowing what to do. So this has been great. It really has been. Is that what you meant, Don?
And space-wise, how are y'all fixed?
No,
over there?
we're okay on space. We break fire code at 251. So we're still hovering between 275 and 300, depending on the time of the year. If it's in the fall, we're usually about 300. In the spring, it's far lower. It's like 225. So we're okay on space. Now, I did have a question for Linda. We were saying that we were going to try to grow that program to beyond the 250. Mm-hmm. We didn't really talk numbers, did we? But
no, and you also want to consider, Mr. Ryan, that we offer smaller class sizes there as well. So it may look like a larger facility, but when you have smaller class sizes, you're using every single corner there.
Well, and just let me say, number one, I'm a huge advocate for Winfern High School. Huge.
Thank you.
I mean, what they do on that campus is absolutely remarkable. I mean, they're saving, in my opinion, they're saving lives. And so I just, individually, my opinion as a board member, anything we can do to enhance their programs, I'm all in. I just think, because I think that enables us to reach more kids in the community, especially when you start talking about career paths that can be offered there as far as the HVAC, the plumbing, things like that. Mm-hmm. Those are just, because really, we're all about the kids. That's why you see us up here serving. And so anything we can do for that, if Matsky fits that bill, I'm all in favor of that. I can tell you that right now. And anything that would help Winford, I'm in favor for.
Thank you.
Just a quick comment, Mr. Ryan, and of course, you know the great heart that Martha has. The reason we're proposing this is to expand Winford, not just what they're currently doing, but do more things to capture more students. And everyone knows the direction that the state is going and the nation is going towards more trades and more skills.
That's right.
And anything that we can do to help students get plugged in, and that's the beauty of Winfern.
Well, I've loved that Dr. Henry has had this dawn to dusk vision for Winfern, because I feel like, and this is my 16th year to be principal there, I've always felt that we were one of the most underutilized campuses in the district. We ought to be bursting at the seams, having to send back kids, because they're out there. They are definitely out there. And, we're just excited. You do hear more and more federal legislators talking about going back to trades and just utilizing, because not everybody is college bound, and that's not a sin. That's an okay thing. We need welders. We need HVAC people. So, we're very excited about having those programs on our campus. And also, I think it's super important that we also look at late afternoon programs, late afternoon classes, not just dual credit. I feel like we need to have for those second semester seniors who are in their fourth or fifth 6 weeks, they know they're not going to be able to pull it out. So why not offer economics, government, English 4A, English 4B, some of those that are critical to that graduation, so that they're not having to do summer school, and so that they are graduating on time with their home campus class. So just something in addition to dual credit.
That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks,
Ryan.
Martha.
Don't go anywhere, Martha. No, you're okay. I'm just curious, and maybe Dr. Macias can answer this. So where you are number-wise, and if we do this, and I'm like Don, I think this is awesome. Your graduations are always inspiring, and I thoroughly support what we're doing over there. I love going to your cook-offs. Y'all are you're really a great place. But Linda, what are we looking at? Because Mansky's going to be larger? Are we looking at adding another 100 or 200 students? What do we think we might be able to do at that point?
Well, you want to think about that. We're looking at adding students at different times during the day.
Right.
So they're not all going to be there at the same time. So we're hoping to as with the 8th grade over age group, maybe another 100 kids that we have come there. That's during the day, and then hopefully another 50 or so kids, maybe 150 to 200 more kids that we're able to serve at different times and different capacities there.
And one follow-up question, because I think it's probably good for the community, like Don said, the two that are still awake watching, but it's probably good for the community to hear, how do the kids get to Winfern? Do they have to get their own transportation?
We have shuttle buses. Dr. Henry's been awesome with approving funding for us, but because it's not cheap. But we have a shuttle from every single campus that brings them to school and then takes them back to their home campus.
So
That's made it possible for a lot of kids to come to Winford who wouldn't otherwise be able to.
So the community can hear, we have shuttle buses that come from all different campuses. So our kids are well taken care of regarding the transportation.
That's awesome.
And they can transport themselves also, which many do.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. I'm all for it.
All right, so I hope that was clear to the public that we do have shuttles at every single campus that go to Winfern currently, and then they're returned to their home campus. So it's just a matter of getting to their home campus.
That's correct.
Dr. Ogletree?
I think this is a phenomenal idea to enhance and expand the program at Winfern. I wanted to ask Roy, though, about the timetable, and is there enough parking there now for the students who would drive? Since this was an elementary campus and you're going to a high school where people can drive, what is the timetable for the transition, and then what about parking?
Based on just our very preliminary analysis of that, we feel we'd have enough parking right now to accommodate, and then we also feel as we expand it, we would need to have additional parking, which we would include in phase 2. As we get into the planning and the design of this in more details as we move forward, we'll analyze that even closer, and if for some reason we think we need to add some additional parking as part of this renovation, then we would look at including that if we can as part of that to accommodate the needs of the facility, not only to accommodate the staff, but any students that would potentially drive to the facility.
And Roy, Mr. Ryan brought up a good point over here. We do have currently an understanding with the Met, the church over there, where we share parking.
Yes, sir. And we've had that agreement in place for quite some time, and we have the ability of using their parking spaces as they have the ability of using ours, and it's been a great partnership with the Met Church over the years.
Ms. Blackshear?
Dr. Macias, on the trade certifications, do the students receive credit towards high school graduation on those courses?
Absolutely. And in fact, those courses are some of the ones that help them graduate with endorsements as well.
Mr. Jackson?
I really don't have anything to say that my colleagues haven't said. But even had my neighbors not taken a lightning hit for me, I still would have been in favor of this. But with y'all, standing tall and say, lightning hit my house instead of my neighbor's house, I mean, what else? Thank you.
Can I add an additional comment? One of the
Yes.
things we're fighting in the construction trades is we don't have enough tradespeople in our business, and that's created a shortage of personnel. The contractors are really pushing hard for trying to get students into trades, and this gives us another perfect opportunity as we look into the phase 2 to have the ability of adding this program and expand our existing programs to be able to hopefully get more kids that are interested in the trades to take care of the HVAC, the plumbing, and the electrical that we truly need, and then hopefully those kids could start working on Cypher projects in the future. So.
Well, that's a win-win. Yes, Mr. Jackson.
I do have a legitimate question. First, I think this idea, I prefer it over the alternatives that y'all had sketched out before when we talked about the repurposing. But this also permits Windfern to be available as an alternative facility. So the question, y'all had some different ideas when you were thinking about repurposing Matsky. Will Windfern be able to potentially address some of those or not?
That's a great question, Mr. Jackson. I'm glad you asked that. Originally we thought about adding on at Windfern to as a continue as an instructional campus. Our thoughts right now is when this building was purchased, I believe the district was about a third the size it is now. And of course, as the district has grown, you add staff, and there is actually not enough room in this facility now. We've not only office space, but not even for parking for many days. So repurposing the current Windfern into some type of administrative annex is, at least right now, a preferable option. We don't know exactly who would go over there. That would need a little study, but with the parking available at Pridgeon Stadium over there, all the parking there, and then at one time, I think it did serve as the central administration building.
Yes, it did.
So that would be a relatively, and Royal shoot daggers at me here, relatively inexpensive building that we can renovate. We need the space.
And a follow-up question, just to be clear, merely by permitting Windfern to move and even repurposing Windfern to relieve the administrative overcrowding here, that does not remove the possibility, not that any firm decisions have been made, but merely it does not remove the potential if at some point in time the district wanted to have a dedicated CTE building or a dedicated pre-K building. Those possibilities are not going to be impinged upon by this decision. Isn't that correct?
Not at all. Not at all.
Are there any other questions or comments? Wow, very exciting possibilities for Windfern, and we're so glad that your team was here and that you, Ms. Strother, stayed in this whole time. So again, we're going to move on, but anyone that needs to leave can always leave.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, thank you all for being here.
Linda's leaving.
All right, we're moving on to action items. We'll start with our consensus items. A, the board will consider approving the tax refunds of $500 or greater for the Cypress-Fairbanks ISD. B, the board will consider approving the minutes of the March 9th, 2017 regular meeting. Any questions on these two consensus items? Mr. Jackson?
I've already asked this question and it's been answered offline, but I'd like it to ask it merely for the benefit of our viewing public. Stuart, we have a couple of very, very large, out of the ordinary in terms of size, tax refunds. Would you comment on the two largest ones that we happen to have? What caused the refunds and what type of property, if we happen to know, was the tax base?
Certainly, Mr. Jackson. Of course, we have a whole slew of tax refunds this month, more than we normally see. But the two largest, one is a $383,000 tax refund that all of the tax refunds that are being asked that you approve are double payments. Most of the corporate taxpayers have tax agencies or tax services that provide the funding for the tax payments, and in many cases, those tax agencies will make the payment on behalf of the corporation, and then the corporation will also send in a tax payment, so that causing a double payment, and so that's the purpose of all of these. The largest one, $382,976, was such a a tax double payment there that related to the Telge Apartments. And then the other one was about $114,000, a double payment made by Baker Hughes Corporation.
Thank you.
May those stay on consensus, everyone? Great. Let's move to our action items non-consensus and discuss which ones can move to the consensus agenda. A, the board will considering awarding bids and contracts and/or authorizing purchase orders as recommended in the posted agenda item. 1, dark, lit, or self-provisioned fiber networks expansion. 2, drill team uniforms for Bridgeland High School. 3, graphing calculator purchases from high school and middle school. 4, instructional materials, textbooks, ebooks, workbooks, and teacher materials. 5, internet and related services. 6, internet gateway router switch. 7, musical instruments. 8, operations cleaning equipment. 9, public address system replacement. 10, technology construction renovation upgrades. 11, Thornton. Sounds like I lost my mic. There it goes. Thornton Middle School gym floor replacement. And 12, warehouse equipment, food service department. Any questions on any of those items? Mr. Jackson?
On the dark lit or self-provisioned fiber network expansion, this is a $7.2 million contract. Frankie, if you would, refresh my memory as the difference between dark fiber and lit fiber versus self-provisioned fiber. Secondly, there's a couple of other bids that were included. Please identify if the other bids were greater or less than the vendor you selected. And then the third question, in technology, there's an old adage that cheap is cheap. And so my question for you, which ties into the second question that I asked, are you in fact satisfied that Phonoscope can in fact do the job for us given our monetary constraints?
Go ahead and answer anyway. Your first question was related to dark lit and provisioned fiber. We currently have dark fiber, and we're seeking a leased dark fiber with Phonoscope. A lit dark fiber would mean that we would hire a company to not only lease the dark fiber from, but we would also allow them to manage the network electronics on either side. Both sides. So a company would be solely responsible for all network fiber communications, which we do not believe that's the wisest choice for our district. Provision fiber would mean that we would actually lay the dark fiber into the ground and would require us to maintain and construct that fiber, which is very costly and requires very specialized skills. So we would own the entire enterprise of fiber. Does that answer your question?
It does. A follow-up question. By having dark fiber, does that permit us to have a lower cost redundant system?
I believe that it does. I believe that it's the best value and the lowest risk.
The second question was briefly talk about the three bids that we received and talk about the dollar placement of the three bids themselves.
The Phonoscope bid was the lowest bid. FiberNet was twice as expensive, and then the AT&T was 5 times more expensive.
And of course, those number then begs to ask the question, with the lowest bidder in technology, are we satisfied that they can in fact fulfill the needs, not only of today, but the future needs that we talked about a little earlier this evening?
This district awarded a contract to Phonoscope in 2003, so they're not a stranger to Cypress-Fairbanks nor to the Region 4 area. They are the largest service provider in the Region 4 area. We are satisfied with their services, to answer your question. But to give you some additional information, Phonoscope did make a split. I think it was in the year of 2010. So the company, the father, Lee Cook, and his daughter, Rhonda Druk, Rhonda opened her company, calling it Phonoscope Lightspeed. When they split the contracts, Cypress-Fairbanks received Phonoscope Lightspeed. In November of this past year, 2016, Phonoscope Lightspeed changed their name to PS, meaning Pure Speed Lightspeed. PS Lightspeed for Pure Speed. I think that's what it was. But it was a little confusing, a little misleading, because PS, Phonoscope, Pure Speed. There are some, I think, family organizational structures that they're working through. Our contract does not end until June of 2018. But because we believe as a team and for this district that the heartbeat of this district lies on our fiber network, that it would not be prudent to wait any longer than this year to start redesigning our network, filling in the laterals, the exposures that we talked about earlier, working through the company issues that could be presented in the future, in addition to taking advantage of some very timely E-rate benefits. So, for example, this year, and possibly this year only, the FCC, we're in the 60% range for E-rate for discounts. The state may be offering up a 10% E-rate. The federal government may come back in and match that at another 10%. So that 7.2 that you see in the dark fiber action item could be reduced to 1.4 and some change. So if it is, you've got to pay to play. In other words, we have to, E-rate is very strict about their timelines. And so we basically only have this month to file get a contract that's been awarded and approved by the board and file for funds. That doesn't mean that we're obligated to buy anything or to even buy from Phonoscope or any other bidder that was on our list. We are proposing so that we can take advantage of any potential E-rate funding that could be available to award the contract to Phonoscope and to work through all of the design work, the technicalities that will be required as we move forward, getting to 2018, which gives us plenty of time this year and on into next year to make certain that we make the right decisions.
Thank you for a very thorough as well as transparent answer. It's a complicated situation and a complicated contract, but thank you. You did a very good job on that.
And our team members are the ones that are sitting back there, Oscar and Paula, that have worked this inside and out for months since November, trying to work through this, so I certainly can't take credit for that.
Any other questions on this item? May this move to consensus? Is that agreeable? Great. That'll move to consensus. Item B, the board will consider adopting a resolution nominating Dr. Mark Henry for the Texas Association of School Boards Superintendent of the Year, and I respectfully ask that we have that on Monday. That won't be by itself. Yeah. That won't be on consensus. I think that's the way to do that one. The board will consider approving the campus and district performance objectives for the 2016-7 campus and district improvement plans. Are there any questions on this item? Mr. Jackson?
First, let me say that I thought the presentation for the package this year was exceptional. When I compared this to what I first saw 6 years ago in January, which was a wake-up call saying you're really on the board, now get to work. For some reason, this was much easier to read, much easier to understand. I appreciated the definitions, changing approaches, grade level, all the way up to mastery, having different target points for each of the 3 areas. So I appreciate the change in presentation because for a layperson like myself, it was much easier to understand. You know, a couple of questions as it relates to that. Clearly, the manner in which we pick the target points, we have a set percentage increase pretty much across the board. And that's really over on a campus by campus, grade by grade level. That, in my view, that's over on the management side. That's a management decision. From a presentation perspective, at some point in time in the future, I think it would be good to know what type of percentages are we looking at irrespective of socioeconomics on a campus basis. You know, maybe not for every individual grade, but for some of the critical ones. So, for example, 3rd grade reading that are so critical, it would be a little easier to see where we are, because clearly we have last year's data, right? And we know what the target is, and we embrace incremental enhancements and improvements, but that would tell us where we had to go. Not that it would necessarily change any decisions that I personally would be making, but just information that...
Good information.
That helps me understand what we're looking at. Over on item number 51, on special education, I have a sensitive question to ask, and I'm going to ask it tonight, but I may well ask it again on Monday. Are we certain that we are giving all of our children the services that we believe they need in the area of special education?
Absolutely, without a doubt. Our philosophy has been and continues to be, and Dan McElduff back there leads this charge, that we will provide our kids with all of the needs and the services that they need and that are required. We do not concentrate, do not look at the number that we're serving or not serving. We're looking at each individual child and their individual needs. I will share with you that a couple of years ago, the state issued a last-minute memorandum about, I believe it was a STAR A testing, actually, the STAR A testing, where districts could move the kids into that testing opportunity, and they wouldn't count for accountability. We didn't do that. We looked at what was best for kids, and that's the service and the assessment that we provided them.
Thank you. I think it's an important stand to take on behalf of the students, and I think it's also important to state that it's a stand that this district has always taken. I believe it's an important message that we need to emphasize. If we take a look over on page 33 of 58, you have put in here the request from my colleague, Dr. Ogletree, to decrease 50% removals from class for in-school suspensions. Clearly, we all know that if you aren't sitting in the classroom, your ability to learn anything is greatly diminished. I did not see strategies in here for carrying out this objective, and that's over on the management side of the fence. But as you all figure out how to approach this concept, and I really have a couple of questions. I don't see this as hard and fast. I see this as a goal to perhaps work toward. But I would be interested in knowing what management believes you can do differently that we aren't already doing. Because to change by 50% versus a 5% change is massive. And as I mentioned the evening when it was proposed, clearly the lesson Claudio taught me on my very first campus visit, even before I was a trustee, is you got to have them in the classroom. So I know the lesson, but also know that classroom management is significant for the learning of all students. So I would like to be kept abreast on this as we go, as we continue. There are a couple of items that I just did not understand. So over on page 34, we talk about implement Project 98, which is dropout recovery. What in the world is Project 98?
Dr. Stewart, is that one yours?
Yes, and if he's going to talk a little bit about that. It's and as she's walking up to the program, it's about our efforts when throughout the year that we are monitoring and looking at our dropout students. So we recover them or try to recover them. We go out and find them. We take a survey or submit a survey and try to determine what was their reasons for not returning to school and see if we can fill in some of those gaps. So we have attendance officers working all year, knocking on doors, looking for our dropouts and trying to determine if we can bring them back. Many of those students wind up at Winfern because they seem to be able to help them catch up and graduate. The 98 is because that's the lever code for dropout students. So that's why they call it Project 98. But Iffy?
I thank you. Good evening. Dr. Stewart put it, she summarized the program pretty effectively. I wanted to go back to your initial comment about the classroom removal. You are correct. That is a gradual goal that we're working toward. For the last 3 years, if you remember, Dr. Henry gave us a challenge of looking into those numbers and finding ways and strategies to keep our students in the classroom and provide teachers with the support to focus on first-time quality instruction. So we've been working toward it. We have a group of about 35 district and campus staff members. We meet quarterly. And the first year, what we did was we delved into the data pieces on our campuses and district-wide. We looked at the culture on our campuses. Our representatives on that committee are made up of counselors, psychologists, teachers in the classroom. We actually have 7 principals who also sit on that committee. So we're very excited. We have not made the gains that we're looking for, but we're gradually moving in that direction. So I hope that gives you some information in that regard.
It does, thank you. Okay. On page 47 of 58, item number 7, I actually attended this class when I was at National, but perhaps the viewing audience does not know what it is. It says we're going to participate in the School Dude FSA program. Would you elaborate on what this program is?
No, the School Dude FFA.
It is.
That is our work order system that we utilize.
Maybe we do.
Do with HR, sorry.
Scheduling the buildings also.
Over on page 26 of 58, we have item number 17, but also 22 that both pertain to co-curricular. Number 22 has the In the Middle project, and that was something that Mark had talked about, I guess really your second year on the board. After you mentioned it, I attended a half-day seminar on it given by a group that you're an advisory committee member of, and then I distributed the in-the-middle pamphlets that they pass out, and you say that it's going to be done at Hopper and Kayla. Can somebody briefly identify what this program is and what it's meant to do?
I can do that. You're absolutely right. We actually have a vertical alignment with this project. It's Hopper and Kayla and Cypress Springs, where we have this program, and it's providing our teachers with really a planning period and a small learning community period. And basically that is following a group of kids. So a science teacher, math teacher, language arts teacher, the content areas all have a group of kids that they share. And so that second period that have, that small learning community, is truly working on the kids, truly looking at what are the areas that they need support in, is a child doing better in one class versus the other, and what are the reasons, being able to share conferences with parents and reaching out to parents. So it's truly looking at the whole child by a shared group of teachers.
Thank you. And then number 17 also caught my attention, and I'll go ahead and read it. Support 6 high schools, 1 middle school, and 2 elementary schools with large number of at-risk students with additional state compensatory education funds as it related to co-curricular activities.
We have, Ashley, is that our high school? Yeah. We have state compet funds that we provide to our high school campuses who have a larger number of at-risk students, and to two of our elementary campuses who were receiving Title I funds, and then no longer were at the high enough at-risk to receive it, but still had a lot of at-risk students at their campuses. So they use those funds for sometimes purchasing another teacher to provide smaller class sizes, or they use it for parenting type events or training and staff development for their staff.
And then, of course, item number 36, we've all talked about this, and this program, I think, has been a grand success. When you take a look on the form in the far right-hand column as to how you've determined that you have attained the goal, and we chatted about this at the Berry Center, and Linda, you and I have chatted about it, it certainly would be dandy if management wanted to have some type of survey as it pertained to the kids, since this is the 5th year of JA Inspire. Intuitively, you know, and I think we know, that this is a very good program, and it has good benefits. But like with anything else, if it is truly something valuable, is there some way that we can measure it?
And we actually, we don't, but JA Inspire actually does do a survey, and they survey the students. And Mary, do they survey the teachers as well? Yes, they survey the teachers and the students. So we'll work at getting that information from them, Mr. Jackson, so we can provide you with it.
You know, when you take a look at the CIP, there's also a tremendous technology section. I did want, Frankie, for you and your folks to know the phrase in here. It says, if a mistake is made or if a new technology does not work, the services staff takes it personally, and this creates some amount of anxiety. Having walked in your shoes very briefly for a period of years on a much smaller scope, that is the nature of implementation. And there are always problems. There's the problems that you know to encounter, and then there are the problems that simply occur that nobody could conceive could happen. And I just wanted you and your staff to know that that at the board we're aware that that's what happens in the technology realm. And we can't make you feel any better about it when it happens, But understand, we also aren't looking to beat you all up either. And also, we are aware of the tremendous project that you've undertaken, and you're really doing some good things with it. That concludes my comments and questions.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Dr. Ogletree?
Well, I know that I was late, but since Tom raised this at IFE with the 50%, I attended a workshop in Denver at the NSBA and dealing with this same subject, which is prevalent across the country. And I was I won't say amazed, but it seems to be the root of everything is in the direction that we're going in is the right one under Dr. Henry. It's a change of attitude and culture. That the 50% can be achieved if and it has to start at the top in that school with the understanding that every child can learn and can be a productive student, and we need the child in the classroom, and to stop the punitive approach to discipline issues. One of the school districts that was in the presentation they had started. Of course, they'd been at it a couple of years, but they'd already reduced theirs by 37%. So I would hate for anyone to think that this is unachievable. It is achievable if we go at it the right way and we change the culture and attitude toward minority students and understand we need them in the classroom.
Thank you, Dr. Ogletree.
Darcy, if I can make a comment. And John, as you know, both Christine and I were in that class, and then of course we were in some of the others. One of the interesting presentations that came up, of course, that those other districts used was greater disaggregation of data, right? Oh, yeah. And they disaggregated data between male and female by different category groups, and they found that to be a useful tool.
Sure.
Again, any other questions, comments? Do we want that item on consensus or not? Yes?
Darcy, if we could, this is one of the most significant decisions we make all year. Could you make this as a standalone item?
We can.
Thank you.
So that will be non-consensus. All right, let me look. Next is D. The district will consider approving the board, will consider approving the district instructional material recommendations for the 2017-2018 content areas included are listed. Languages other than English, and 2, career and technology education. Any questions on this item? Seeing none, can we move that to consensus? All right, that'll be on consensus. E, the board will consider approving a request for a Texas Education Agency waiver that allows the district to train staff on various educational strategies designed to improve student performance in lieu of a maximum of 3 days, 420 minutes per day of student instruction for the 2016-17, 2017-18, and 2018-19 school years. Any questions on this item? No? Do we want to move that to consensus? Is that agreeable? F, the board will consider approving the interlocal governmental agreement between Harris County and Cypress-Fairbanks ISD for the installation of a traffic right-of-way improvements adjacent to Cypress Falls High School, and authorize the superintendent or designee to negotiate the final terms and execute all related documents. Does anyone feel a need for a closed session? Anyone have any questions on this item? Mr. Jackson?
Marty, for the viewing audience, does this contract that we're being asked to approve, does it contain the magic clause that says for improvements that the district pays for, that future maintenance of those then becomes the responsibility of the county?
Mr. Jackson, I can probably answer that question. The improvements that the county's doing, the county will maintain, which is the signal light construction. We're going to be doing some improvements, which we'll be voting on a little bit later tonight, or discussing tonight, is the improvements on site to do some realignment with the driveways to coincide with the signal light location. And obviously that'll be under warranty with our general contractor as such.
So as long as it stays on our private property, we have future maintenance?
That's correct.
Are we doing anything on county property?
The county property, the county will be taking care of that right away work.
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions? Can that be moved to consensus? G, the board will consider approving construction proposals and contracts paid from bond funds to the recommended contractors and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute all necessary documents related to such contracts as follows. 1, 2017 Goodson Middle School renovations, and 2, Huffmeister Road and Tuckerton Road improvements, left turn lanes to service Cypress-Fairbanks ISD, Cy Falls High School. Any questions on that item? Seeing none, can that move to consensus? All right. H, the board will consider the approval and execution of the plat for Bridgeland High School number 12 and Wells Elementary School number 55. Any questions on that? This is a standard procedure that we go through. Any questions? Can that be moved to consensus? That will bring us to I. The board will consider authorizing the district to notify the Texas Education Agency of its intent to dispose of out-of-adoption instructional materials. Any questions on that?
I had a question on that for, hey, Teresa, on this out-of-adoption instructional materials, do we have any cost related to that donation to Textbook Warehouse, and do we get any, I mean, I'm thrilled that we're donating books. Is there any monetary gain in that for us? I just looked at their website to where they do pay for some books. I didn't know if we were being paid for these books.
I'll let Christy come up and answer that. I'm not aware of any monetary donation or. I don't think we do. We pelletize. I don't think we get any money from it. It's not to my knowledge. I can check.
And do they pay for all of our? I don't know the volume of books that we have that we're sending. Do they pay for that, for all the shipping stuff and everything?
Whatever they do with it after they get it, they pay for everything.
I mean, for us sending it to them is.
No, they come pick it up from us.
They come pick it up from us.
Mhm.
Okay. And I do think that's cool that the Books for Africa website. That's like one of the largest firms donating books to the African continent. It was just a pretty neat deal that we're involved in something like that. So thanks.
Any other questions, comments? To consensus? Okay. That'll go to consensus. J, the board will consider approving the instructional materials allotment and the TEKS certification for 2017-18. Questions? Mr. Jackson?
Standard question I always have on this item. Mr. Superintendent, do you certify that this information is correct?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
Any further questions? Can this go on consensus? All right, we'll move that to consensus. And K, the board will consider approving the superintendent's contract recommendations to issue probationary term and annual contracts for the 2017-18 school year for administrators, non-teaching professionals, paraprofessionals, and teachers. Any questions on this item? Can this go on to consensus?
Like it stand alone.
Okay. Well, that'll be on non-consensus, Lisa. All right. I believe that brings us to the end of what we need to do for tonight. It's been a little longer than normal meeting, but we had some great reports and a lot of great information. Thank everyone for their patience, and we'll see them Monday night. Oh, and we will have our shadows on Monday night. The senior students will shadow each board member and each associate, and we always have a great time with that. So we're looking forward to that. Thanks, everyone.
Eric, you fall asleep?